Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Lettuce Head Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Unlocks the RPG Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku always loved to play video games and wanted to know every aspect of them. The very first game he played was Hero Fighter when he was almost 4. He remembers playing it with Bakugo, wanting to be All Might, but letting Bakugo take that role whenever they played together. However, once his birthday came, he was diagnosed as quirkless. After he told Bakugo, he was treated differently. Every day he and his peers would find Deku and bully him. Bakugo would say, "Take a swan dive off the roof, and maybe you will get a quirk," which hurt Izuku deeply. He would come home with bruises and cuts, and when his mom asked what happened, he would make up stories. He knew she didn't believe them, but it made her stop pushing for the truth. Afterward, he would retreat to his room and play games for hours, which became the best part of his day. Now it was his 13th birthday. He walked downstairs in a plain hoodie and sweatpants, drawn by the delicious smell coming from the kitchen. "Oh, happy birthday, sweetie," his mom said, and on the table was his favorite dish, katsudon. "Thanks, Mom," he replied, hugging her. They sat down, expressed their gratitude, and enjoyed the meal. "Oh, I almost forgot," his mom said, giggling as she reached under the table. "Okay, here is your birthday present." She handed him a small, green-wrapped gift with a white bow. Izuku shook it lightly and opened it, his eyes widening in disbelief. "Oh my God, Mom! Genshin Impact! I can't believe you got it. I remember it was all sold out," he exclaimed, filled with excitement. "They were, but I kept checking the store, and last week they restocked. It was even on sale," she smiled. He jumped up to hug her again. "Thank you so much. You are the best mom ever. Oh, sweetie. You are the best son a mom could ask for. You should go upstairs and play your game." "I'll clean up," she told him, and he nodded eagerly. He rushed to his room, downloaded the game on his PC, and signed in. This was going to be the best birthday ever. He spent the entire day playing, collecting Primo Gems, and rolling for characters, enjoying every moment. As midnight approached, he heard a scream and a crash. What was that? He took off his headset and stood up, hesitating to open his door. Another scream, this time sounding like his mom, urged him to rush down. He saw blood on the floor and hurried to the kitchen, where he found his mom lying on the floor, lifeless. Panic surged through him as he checked for her pulse. There was none. Looking up, he saw a figure approaching. The man lunged at him with a knife, but Izuku's reflexes kicked in, and he dodged, running back to his room and locking the door. His heart raced as he heard footsteps on the stairs, accompanied by unsettling giggles. The man stabbed at the door, narrowly missing him. Izuku sighed in relief, but the man broke through, knife in hand, ready to strike when suddenly, the world paused. Quirk Unlocked, RPG, appeared before him, and a figure materialized next to him. "Hello. My name is Paimon," the floating figure said. "Paimon? Like from Genshin Impact?" Izuku shouted. "Kind of, but Paimon is your Paimon," she pointed at him. "My Paimon?" he questioned, still confused. "Paimon is here to help you through the tutorial of your quirk," she said, performing a flip in the air. "Paimon will briefly describe your quirk. It's called RPG, short for role-playing games. This quirk makes your life like a video game. You have stats just like in a game. Playing video games will boost your stats and power, but you still need to train your body and mind to keep up. If you want to learn more about your quirk, just ask me." "So my quirk makes me like a video game character, basically," he muttered to himself. "Ahem. Paimon wants your attention. The tutorial mode is still on," she exclaimed, bringing his focus back to her. There was a glowing light on the floor, and a sword appeared. It looked like a dull blade from the game. "I picked it up. Player has gained Dull Blade LVL. Now time to gain the elemental powers," Paimon said, lifting her little hand as 7 shards spawned. My eyes sparkled with excitement. "You are only a level 1 overall, maybe even level 1.5. So you can only handle one of these. Each of these represents different elements: pyro, fire; geo, earth; dendro, nature; cryo, ice; electro, lightning; anemo, wind; and hydro, water. You must choose one, the floating figure explained. This was a difficult decision. In the game, they didn't let you choose, it was only anemo. Now I had a choice. Later on, when I'm a higher level, will I be able to gain all of these? I asked Paimon, and she nodded. I decided to choose anemo because I knew more about it, and it seemed powerful for starting. Paimon put away the other shards and placed the anemo shard in my hand. It charged and a bolt of light shot from it. Once the light faded, the shard disappeared. Player gained elemental power. Player can now use elemental attack and elemental burst. Now you can use it if you do the same character stance from the game. Paimon exclaimed. I tried to let out an elemental attack, and it worked. I felt a rush of wind from my hand, and it burst forth. I was so shocked by what I had done. I did it. I jumped in the air, unable to believe my success. Paimon is out. The tutorial mode will end, but you can call for Paimon in your head, and I will come out. Oh, also wear this, Paimon said before disappearing. I got into a stance, ready to face the man who had entered my home. World unpause. Once the world unpaused, the man charged at me with a knife in his hand. He tried to stab me, but I dodged. I didn't want to hurt him, I needed him to tell me about my sword. He kept lunging at me and I dodged every attack. I ran out of my room and into the living room. The man threw his knife, narrowly missing me. I had no choice but to unleash my elemental attack. I took my stance, feeling the wind gather in my hands. I saw a faint glow before releasing it. The attack hit the man and sent him flying out of my house. I heard a thud and then sirens approaching. The police had finally arrived. Mail, gift from Paimon to open mail. Say, open mail. A gift from Paimon? I would check it later. Before the police could enter my house, I hurried to my room, gathered my belongings, and stuffed them into a suitcase and a backpack. Then I jumped out of my window, leaving no trace behind. I caught a glimpse of Eraserhead and wanted to ask for his autograph, but I had to go. Eraserhead/Aizawa POV. I was on patrol when I heard a blast from a nearby house. I rushed over and found a man lying on the ground with a knife in his hand. There was a large hole in the house and I saw a boy. Did he do this? The boy ran upstairs, and I was about to follow when the police arrived. They greeted me and took charge of the situation. While they arrested the man on the floor, I entered the house. I searched upstairs for the boy, but he was gone. What had happened to him? Returning downstairs, I entered the kitchen and found a woman on the floor. She had multiple stab wounds. Hoping she was alive, I checked her pulse, but there was none. She was dead. This must be the mother of the boy who had run off. I sighed and stood up. That boy must have a powerful quirk. To be continued. Izuku POV. I ran to a nearby forest to hide without anyone knowing. The forest was peaceful, and I sat next to a tree, placing my backpack on the grass. I wasn't tired from all the adrenaline. Then I remembered the mail Paimon had. Open mail, I said, and a dark green box appeared, showing my mail. Sender, Tun. Hello, player. Paimon just realized I didn't get your name. Anyway, Paimon has a gift for you since you defeated that villain. There was a collect button at the bottom, and I pressed it. Suddenly, enhancement crystals fell, and the box disappeared. This could enhance my dull sword, but how? I decided to call for Paimon. Hello, player. Paimon is here. Paimon popped out with a flourish. Hey Paimon, my name is Midoriya Izuku. Sorry I forgot to tell you, I said, scratching my head. It's fine, Izuku. So why do you need Paimon? She asked, moving closer. How do I enhance my sword? I inquired. You need to go to your menu screen. Just say, menu screen, Paimon instructed. Menu screen, I said, and a dark green box appeared with various icons. Player has unlocked menu screen. It looked similar to the one in the game, except for the events /notice sign, UID, traveler, replaced with Izuku, world level, adventure rank, replaced with level, party setup, friends, replaced with enhancements, Character, replaced with stats. Characters, replaced with design. Quests, replaced by analysts. Battle Pass, feedback, community, co-op, time change, adventure handbook, replaced with journal. Wow, it looks just like the one in Genshin Impact. Except there are a lot more changes, I said, my eyes sparkling with excitement. There were so many options I didn't know about. It was thrilling. As you can see, there is one for enhancements. Just click on it. Paimon hovered nearby to see the pop-up box. I clicked on the enhancements, and the layout changed. There was a slot for weapons and another for ores to enhance them. You can transfer your weapons and any items into your inventory. Just hold it, Paimon instructed. I held my sword, and it disappeared with a slight glow. I clicked on the add symbol, and the dull sword appeared as an option. After using some of my enhancement ores, I upgraded my dull sword to a solid level. I kept it in my inventory to avoid carrying it everywhere, along with my suitcase and backpack items. Paimon explained more about the menu screen. My level could increase by training in real life and playing different kinds of games. The shop was for trading for better weapons, armor, materials, and other mystical items. Analysts helped me organize my analysis on quirks, strategies, and more. Stats included my skills, DMG, EM, ATK, HP, and much more. The design/craft option allowed me to create my weapons, armor, clothing, and anything else I wanted, given I had the right materials. The next day, Izuku woke up with a stiff neck, realizing he had slept on the grass. He stretched and stood up, contemplating his plans for the day. He decided he needed to find a job to afford at least a small apartment. Menu screen, he said, checking his inventory to see his savings, which totaled about 108 yen. It was a decent amount that could cover a week of rent. He headed to a cafe for some free Wi-Fi to search for apartments. He found himself at a cat cafe and was warmly welcomed upon entering. He took a seat by the window. "Hello, welcome to the Nico Nico Cafe. What can I get you?" a girl asked. Can I just have some chocolate chip cookies?" I replied, and she nodded. "Is that all?" I nodded again, and she left. After 5 minutes, the cookies arrived, and Izuku enjoyed them. 20 minutes later, he found a cheap but well-kept apartment with great reviews. He decided to rent it for about 15,000 yen per month, but he needed to secure a job to manage the payments. "Can I get you anything else?" the girl asked. "Actually, are you guys hiring?" She nodded and asked him to wait. A few minutes later, he was interviewed by the store owner and was hired. The pay was decent, and his schedule was set for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for 5 hours each day. After leaving the cafe, he headed to his new apartment and settled in. He got his Wi-Fi working and went shopping for workbooks to teach himself. Once everything was in place and his apartment felt comfortable, he could finally call it home. Izuku's POV. I woke up, stretched, and got up from bed, heading to the kitchen. I made myself some cereal and turned on the TV. 2 nights ago, a woman was killed in her home. Her son, Midoriya Izuku, is presumed missing for now. Pro heroes are trying to find him. Underground hero Eraserhead reported seeing the young boy use his quirk to defeat the murderer before fleeing. I quickly turned off the TV, shocked that he had seen me. To be continued. It's been a year since I was presumed missing. My appearance had changed significantly over that time. My hair was longer, styled in a side braid, and had darkened to a deeper green. I had grown taller and developed a lean physique that made me look more mature, even at just people often mistook me for older, which left me uncertain if that was a good or bad thing. I had been training diligently, balancing my time between jogging, self-education, work, gaming, and training. My level was now a solid 49, just shy of 50. Paimon had been a great help, and I had mstred a Nemo, wind, and Pyro, fire, while I was still working on string electro, lightning, and hydro, water. I had also created and traded for better weapons, acquiring a Skyward Blade, the Bell, Skyward Harp, Primordial Jade Wing Spear, and Skyward Atlas. After finishing my training, I decided to take a walk. I put on a mask and stepped outside, taking a deep breath of fresh air. As I strolled past stores and gas stations, I unexpectedly found myself in a dark alleyway where a little girl bumped into me. She seemed too young to be out late at night. I bent down to her level, pulled my mask down, and asked gently, "Hey, are you okay?" The little girl trembled and replied, I don't want to go back." I was confused. "What's your name?" I asked. "Eri," she responded. "Well, Eri, let's go back to my place, and you can tell me more about what's happening," I suggested, and she nodded. We walked back to my place, and she clung to me the whole time. When we arrived, she looked around but still held on to me. I told her to sit down on the couch, and she nodded. I went to get some snacks, but she grabbed onto me. "Please don't go, mister," she exclaimed, and I patted her head. "I won't leave, I was going to get some snacks for us." "Apples?" I asked, and her eyes sparkled. I chuckled and went to the kitchen as Eri held onto my hoodie. After we both sat down and she ate the apple slices, I asked, "So, Eri, why were you running away?" She looked down. "The man. He would put needles into me and sell them. I killed people." She started to tear up, and I comforted her. "What are you saying?" "My quirk is called Rewind, and I can rewind people's bodies and even kill them. That's what I did to Papa, and he is dead because of me." She cried harder. "Then a man said that he would protect me, and my grandpa trusted him. But he did bad things to me. He put needles into me, killed me, then put my body back together," Eri cried out. I was shocked and worried for her. She said her dad was dead, and this man would do surgeries on her. I pulled her into a hug and patted her back. She calmed down a little but still cried while eating apples. "You can stay with me," I exclaimed, and she smiled. "Really?" she asked, and I nodded. I told her we could buy her clothes tomorrow, and we both got ready for bed. Since there was only one bed, we had to sleep close to each other. She woke up a couple of times because of nightmares, and I comforted her. The next day, I woke up earlier than Eri and made breakfast for us. I needed to put lots of nutrition in it because Eri was very malnourished. Once I finished, I woke her up, and after we ate breakfast, we went outside to go shopping. The day went by quickly, and soon we were home. "Dad, what's your quirk?" I was shocked by what she called me, but I let it slide. "My quirk is called RPG," I told her. "What does it do?" she asked, and I explained while her eyes widened in awe. "Can you show me this Paimon girl?" Eri asked, and I nodded. "Hello. Paimon is wondering why you called." Paimon said, looking down to see Eri. "Oh, who is this?" Paimon asked. "This is Eri, and she is staying with me," I replied. Hello," Eri said. After Paimon and Eri talked a lot and had fun, Eri smiled more and laughed. That made me happy to see her laugh. "Izuku, isn't the UA exams coming in a month?" Paimon asked. "Oh yeah, I don't know if I'm prepared for that," I chuckled. "What's UA exams, Dad?" Eri asked, looking my way. UA exam is a test to go to UA, the most prestigious school for becoming a hero. I smiled at her. "Oh, but Dad is already a hero," she said, and I laughed. Soon Eri and I went to bed and slept peacefully. Until I had a nightmare. I walked downstairs and saw my mom in danger, her screams replaying over and over. Eri shook me awake. "What's wrong?" I asked. "You were having a nightmare. And you wouldn't stop moving," Eri told me, and I smiled, then patted her on the head. "The exams are in a month, and I have a month to get better. It's been a year since this child has been missing. He must look different now since it's been a year." I let out a sigh. This problem child is good at not leaving traces. There is only one photo of him, but it's when he was all the other photos were deleted and his files got corrupted. Now we don't have a name, age, or quirk. The UA exams start in a month, and Izuku trained hard while juggling being a dad and a part-time worker. He was string hydro, water, and electro, lightning, while also practicing with a Nemo, wind, and pyro, fire. He improved with the basics of his sword, bow, claymore, polearm, and catalyst. He and Eri developed a strong father-daughter relationship, even though Izuku was not her biological father. Izuku also taught Eri to control her quirk with the help of Paimon. Eri could now rewind any injury her dad had, which was really helpful. Izuku's overall stats increased significantly, and his elemental bursts and attacks became more powerful. Soon, the UA exam arrived. Today is the big day. I woke up Eri so we could get ready. We walked out and made our way to UA. I brought Eri with me because I didn't want to hire a babysitter, and I was sure they would allow her. When we got to UA, I walked into the auditorium and sat down with Eri on my lap. "Hello, everyone. Can I get a yeah?" President Mike shouted, making Eri jump a little. Nobody responded. "Heh, tough crowd," he said, explaining everything about the exam. Then a boy with glasses raised his hand and asked a question. I wasn't paying attention. My focus was on Eri, who looked scared. "And you with the dark hair," he pointed out. "Me?" I questioned. "Yes, you." "I don't believe that child is allowed to take the exams," he exclaimed. I rolled my eyes, ignoring him. Settle down, President Mike said, continuing to explain more about the exams. Afterward, Eri and I went over to the field, where I spotted Kakin. I tried my best to avoid him, and thankfully he didn't see me. I looked around at the crowd when someone tapped my shoulder. "Hello, my name is Uraraka Ochako," the girl said, and I smiled. "My name is Izuku." "I don't do last names," I responded, and she nodded in understanding. "I'm just wondering why you have a child with you?" Uraraka asked. "Well, I found her, and she had a rough past. So I took her in with me. She calls me Dad, but I'm not biologically her dad," I explained, but before she could respond, Mike shouted for everyone to go. Everyone started to move, but I stayed behind until they were gone. Once the coast was clear, I set Eri down and called Paimon out to take care of her. Meanwhile, the teachers were in the building watching the students. "Why is that young boy staying behind?" All Might asked. Seems like he has a child with him," Nizu responded. "Kids are growing up so fast," Midnight remarked. "She might be his sister," Mike suggested, and Midnight nodded. "He is quite interesting from what I can see from his forum," Nizu said, showing it to the teachers. "Izuku, no last name. I've never heard of the Quirk RPG before, it must be new." "He is 15? All Might exclaimed. "Oh, I thought he would be older," Midnight replied. The heroes stopped looking at the child's forum and returned to spectating the students. Izuku was doing well, racking up 75 points using just his sword. He took down the smaller targets and decided to test his elemental attack on the larger ones. He despawned his sword and summoned his bow, using Hydro Blast to hit a 3-pointer. Then he switched to a claymore and charged at the target. "Interesting, so he has a type of water power," All Might said. "But he used different weapons that spawn and depawn," Mike exclaimed. "Yes, his quirk is indeed interesting," Nizu agreed. Izuku felt a rumble beneath him and saw people running away, hearing someone call for help. "Help! Help!" a girl with black hair shouted. Izuku rushed to her side, lifting the debris off her. "Thank you," she said, but then the 0-pointer approached. "Stay here," Izuku instructed, and she nodded hesitantly. "Seems like things might get interesting," Nizu said with a chuckle. Izuku summoned his bow and unleashed his elemental burst. He swiftly fired a hydro magic arrow, dealing hydro damage. Then he switched to his sword and executed another elemental burst, unleashing the power of lightning in an area effect. He blended into the shadow of his blade, striking a series of thunderblows to the 0-pointer, immobilizing it. Switching back to his bow, he performed another elemental burst, summoning a rain of fiery arrows that dealt continuous area damage. The 0-pointer exploded, and Izuku leveled up. All the heroes were shocked by what they had just witnessed. "So he doesn't only have water? He has lightning and fire too?" Mike exclaimed, while Eraserhead plugged his ears. "Interesting indeed. What do you think, Aizawa?" Nizu asked. "Can I have him in my class?" Aizawa replied, surprising everyone, but Nizu nodded. Izuku felt exhilarated. He had never unleashed multiple elemental bursts at once before. He turned to see the black-haired girl looking shocked. "Thank you for saving me," she said. "My name is Yayorozu Momo, but you can just call me Momo," she introduced herself with a bow. "I'm Izuku. I don't do last names," I replied, bowing in return. "That was so cool what you just did. What's your quirk?" Interesting, she is powerful, I thought. My quirk is called RPG. RPG? Like video games? She asked. Yeah, it's mostly based on Genshin Impact. We continued talking until I noticed a floating figure and a small child approaching us. Dad! Eri yelled, running up to me and hugging me tightly. Sorry, Izuku. Paimon tried to stop her, but Paimon failed. Paimon is hungry now, Paimon said, and I chuckled. It's okay, I replied, noticing Momo's confusion. Sorry, this is my daughter Eri. She had a rough past and I took her in. I'm not biologically her dad, I told Momo. Hello, my name is Momo, Eri smiled back and waved. Dad, can we go home now? I'm hungry. Eri asked and I patted her head. Looks like we have to get going. See you around, Momo, I said and waved goodbye to her. Eri and I made our way back to the apartment. I prepared katsudon for both of us and made a sticky honey roast for Paimon. How well do you think you did on the exam? Paimon asked. I think I did good enough to get in, I responded, eating my katsudon. Menu screen, I said quietly, and a light green box popped up. What are you looking at? Eri asked. I leveled up to LVL 50, so I get a little prize in my mailbox, I replied. I went to my mailbox and clicked on prizes. I showed it to Eri and told her to choose a box. She chose the middle one, and it revealed pets. Pets? I questioned. Ooh, pets. Paimon was hoping this would happen soon. Paimon spun excitedly. Paimon shall explain now. These pets are called mini Seeli. There are 3 types so far: Dayflower, Rose, and Curcuma. Let's see how many you can get. Paimon flew to me and looked. Oh, it looks like you can get 2. Go on. Paimon shouted. I clicked on pets, and a blank white mini Seeli appeared. I clicked on it, and it began to shake, changing color to yellow and glowing. It popped out and floated next to me. Oh, you got mini Seeli, Curcuma. They say that Seelies of this color will bring good fortune. Paimon exclaimed. I clicked again to get my second pet. The mini Seeli changed color to pink and glowed, then popped out and floated beside me. Oh, this one is so pretty. This tiny pink Seeli can't speak, but it silently walks the world with the player it loves, Paimon said, spinning around to admire my mini Seelies. After a couple of minutes, Eri and I went to bed, and a week later, I received a letter from UA. I opened it to find a message from Nizu. Hello, Izuku. Your forum is interesting, and you just put your first name, quirk, birthday, age, and gender. No other description. Anyway, let's get past that. You got a total of 107 points, 53 villain points, and 54 rescue points. Congrats. You will be placed in Class 1A, but before the year begins, I would like to see you personally. Please come to UA a day before school starts. We will be discussing certain things. Sincerely, Nizu. I was happy that I got in, but he wanted to discuss something with me. I hoped it was nothing bad. I sighed and placed the letter on my desk. I then told Paimon and Eri the news, and both were excited for me. I suddenly remembered that I had to go back to work today. I forgot that I had to go back to work today, I exclaimed, shooting up from my seat. I had taken a month off from my part-time job to train and take care of Eri. What's work? Eri looked up at me. It's something I do to make money so I can pay for this apartment and take care of you. I smiled and she smiled back. I'm also going to take you to my work, so get ready, I told her, and she jumped out of her chair in excitement. After she finished changing, we headed to the cafe. My manager greeted me, and I explained why Eri was there. She understood. I put my apron on and told Eri to sit at a table in the corner. I gave her some math and writing problems to work on. Hello, welcome to the Nico Nico Cafe, the manager said as a boy around my age entered. He had purple hair and bags under his eyes. He sat down and looked at the menu. I took his order and served him his coffee. Are you that guy who defeated the 0-pointer in the UA exams? He asked, and I was shocked. Yeah, were you at the exams? I asked him, and he shook his head. No, I was recommended, he replied, and my eyes sparkled. Really? That means you're really strong. I exclaimed. No, not really, he said, looking down but with a slight smile. My name is Shinso Hitoshi, he said, looking up. I'm Izuku, I don't do last names, I responded. After we talked more, I ended up getting in trouble with my manager for slacking off. To be continued. It's been a week, and it's Sunday now. I have to go to UA to discuss things with Principal Nizu. I got ready, and so did Eri. Mini Seelai, Rose seems to like Eri better than me, but that's fine. I already have Curcuma. Once we were ready, we headed out to UA. We got to Nizu's office and knocked. He told us to come in and we did. Hello, Principal Nizu, I said and bowed. Eri was looking around the room and clung to me. Hello, Izuku. Come and sit. Tea? He asked and I shook my head. What did you want to discuss, Principal Nizu? I asked and he smiled. I see you don't want to beat around the bush, he said, taking a sip of tea. Why don't you say your last name? He asked. I don't think it's relevant, I responded, and he seemed to want a more in-depth response. There was another knock on the door, and Nizu said to come in. It was Eraserhead. I was so excited when I saw him and went to ask for his autograph. Open menu, I said, and I clicked on the journal, and then a pen spawned. Eraserhead was confused but then took the pen and signed it. I thanked him and sat down. I hope you don't mind, but I invited Eraserhead too, Nizu said, and I shook my head. Eraserhead sat down next to Nizu. So, Izuku, do you know about the unsolved case of a missing child? Nizu asked and I could hear my heartbeat but I kept cool. Yes, I do. But I don't understand why this has to do with me, I responded and Nizu laughed. Izuku, you don't have to hide it anymore. Or should I say Midoriya Izuku? The chimera sipped his tea and smiled. I let out a sigh and turned to look at Eri, who was playing with Mini Seelai, Rose. Okay, you got me, I said. Why did you run? Eraserhead asked. I ran because I didn't want to be put into a foster care system. What about your father? He asked. He's never been in my life. I don't know where he is, but my mom used to argue a lot on the phone with a man, I said, clenching my fists. Do you live by yourself? Nizu asked and I nodded. Dad, I'm hungry, Eri said, coming up to me and opening my menu screen. I went to my inventory and gave Eri a snack. Who is she? Eraserhead asked. She is my daughter, not biological. She had a rough past, and I decided to take care of her, I said and smiled. Also, yes, I do live by myself. To make rent, I work at a cafe, and they pay well. They both hummed in acknowledgement. Did you have anything to do with your corrupted files? Nizu asked and I knew he knew. Yeah, I hacked into it and changed everything. I erased all pictures of me, but I must have missed some, I responded. We all talked some more until it was dark. I left with Eri in hand to our apartment. The next day, I woke up to my alarm beeping and Eri shaking me. I turned my alarm off and got into my UA uniform. Recently, I found a school to enroll Eri in, so today is her first day too. We both went out to the kitchen, and Paimon was sleeping on the couch. I made some miso soup for all of us, and Eri woke up Paimon. Paimon is tired, but Paimon smells something delicious. She floated over and grabbed the miso soup. This is delicious, she exclaimed. Eri-chan, are you excited for your first day of school? Paimon asked. Eri was hesitant to answer but said, kind of, but I don't want to get bullied. Paimon thinks you'll be fine. Paimon floated over and patted Eri on the head. Dad, can you give me pigtails? Eri asked. I walked over to her and tied her hair up in pigtails. She looked adorable. I then opened my menu screen and went to my inventory to find our mini Seelies. Player toggled mini Seelai. Curcuma player toggled mini Seelai. Rose went over to Eri and did flips in the air in excitement. Curcuma came over to me and calmly flipped onto my shoulder. Oh, looks like we should get going, I said and carried Eri off her seat. Paimon disappeared while Eri and I walked to her school. When we got to Eri's school, we were greeted by her teacher. I explained what the tiny pink floaty thing was, and she understood. I then said goodbye to Eri and she hugged me. I got a text from Shinso saying that he was also in 1A, but he was sick and wouldn't be able to come. I walked to UA and tried to find my class, 1A. I found it and it had a big door. Paimon popped up. Whoa, are there giants here? Paimon shouted and I chuckled. I opened the door and heard shouting. Please keep your feet off the desk. This is very ill-mannered, a boy with glasses shouted. This looks like someone has a stick up his. A blonde boy shouted back, and I realized who it was. Geez, what's with the people here? Paimon asked, looking at me. Hey, are you okay? She asked. Why, I said. Hello. My name is Tenya Ida. I'm sorry for how I acted during the exams. I hope you can accept my apology, he said in a robotic manner. It's fine. I'm Izuku, I don't do last. I was about to finish until someone cut me off. Deku. Kaken shouted, coming toward me. Where have you been? He shouted, and I stayed silent. Answer me, Deku, he yelled. I'll tell you later, I said, brushing him off. He was furious now but nodded. Clearly, people don't see Paimon here. Paimon said, puffing her cheeks. Hey, you made it. Someone tapped my shoulder. It was Uraraka. Oh hey. I waved and she blushed a little. Then she saw Paimon. Who's that? She pointed at Paimon. My name is Paimon. Paimon is part of Izuku's quirk. Paimon said, oh that's cool. I'm Uraraka Ochako. You both can call me Ochako, though, she said with a smile. Just then, someone interrupted our conversation. Silence, he said, and we all took our seats. Paimon disappeared. I'm your homeroom teacher, Aizawa. Get into your gym clothes and hurry to the field, he instructed before walking out of the classroom. We all followed. I was in the boys' locker room changing when a redhead said, Whoa, you're so manly. I nodded in response. I'm Kirishima Ijiro, he introduced himself, and I told him my name. We both headed out to the field and waited for the others. Hey, what's the tiny yellow floaty thing? And that other floaty girl? Kirishima asked me. The yellow one is a mini sealai, Kukurma, and the other one is emergency food. I smiled and Paimon popped out. Paimon is not emergency food. Paimon is part of his quirk. Paimon shouted, and I chuckled as she disappeared again. Everyone lined up for the quirk assessment. Kaken threw the ball and scored quite high as usual. Aizawa-sensei informed us that the person in last place would be expelled. We started with the 50-meter dash, and my quirk helped a bit. I used my catalyst to change my stance. I cloaked myself within the water's flow, consuming stamina to move rapidly. It felt like the floor turned into water. When I got up, I was all wet and everyone was in awe. I ended up getting second place. Next was grip strength, where my quirk didn't help, but I managed to get fourth. During the standing long jump, my quirk came into play. I summoned my polearm. How is that supposed to help? Someone asked, and I just smirked. A yakusha mask appeared on my face, and I jumped into the air, feeling the rush of wind. I used my wind glider to fly over the sandbox and executed a plunge attack with my polearm, landing safely. My HP was now 5004/5, 450, and I opened my menu screen to access my inventory. I got blackback perch stew and started eating to increase my HP. Oh, that was so cool, a Pikachu-looking boy said. Yeah. So manly, Kirishima added. Everyone was in awe again, and Kaken looked angry as usual. The next event was the ball throw, and I was the last to go. I struggled to think of a way to use my quirk without a weapon, and I ended up in third place. Overall, I secured second place, with Momo in first and Todoroki in third. Kaken was frustrated with his fourth place finish, and I couldn't help but laugh. Alas, I didn't even get to talk to any girls yet, a purple-haired boy exclaimed. Aizawa sighed and said, that was a lie so I could see you in your full potential. After we returned to the classroom, Aizawa took a nap. Let's all introduce ourselves, an alien girl suggested, and everyone agreed. Hello. I'm Ishido Mina. My quirk is acid, she said. Once everyone introduced themselves, it was my turn. I'm Izuku. I don't do last names. My quirk is RPG, I stated. Everyone looked at me intently. Oh, RPG as in video games? Kaminari asked, and I nodded. So cool, he said, and we continued chatting until lunch. Paimon then popped out. It's lunchtime. Paimon is hungry. Let's go, she said, and everyone looked at her in confusion. I explained who she was, and they all understood. When Paimon and I went to the cafeteria, Kaken pulled me aside. Kaken, why did you grab me like that? I asked and Paimon disappeared. Hey, Hithoi nerd. You said you'd tell me what happened. Where were you? They said you were missing? And Auntie Inko is dead? What happened? He shouted and I sighed. Why should I tell you? It's not like you care. I responded and he looked hurt. It was quiet for a moment, and I was about to leave when he spoke again. I'm sorry. I know I've bullied you for a long time, but I'm sorry. I just felt that you were looking down at me and I know you were trying to help me, but I let my pride get in the way. I was planning to apologize the day after your birthday, but then I heard you were missing and Auntie Inko was dead. I thought you were gone. But now that you are here, I can finally say I'm sorry, he said, looking down. I didn't know what to say and stood there. On my birthday, Mom died at night from a man who broke in. That's when my quirk activated. I ran away because I didn't want to go into foster care. So I got a job and a small apartment, I told Kaken. To my surprise, he hugged me and I hugged back. I'm glad you're okay, nerd, he said, and I smiled. Then the bell rang, and we both returned to our classroom. I'm coming in like a normal person. All Might announced, and everyone was ecstatic. Who knew that's how normal people walk into a room, Paimon remarked. All Might told us to change into our hero costumes. I put mine on, and thankfully it fit. I walked outside, where almost everyone was waiting. I like your outfit, Izuku, Momo said as she approached me. Thanks, I like yours too. It's because of your quirk, right? I asked, and she seemed surprised but nodded. Oh, Izuku, I like your outfit, Ochako added, and I thanked her. You look like a prince or an adventurer, Izuku. Mina exclaimed, causing me to blush from her compliment. All Might then gathered our attention and explained what we would be doing, hero versus villain training. I was teamed up with Jiro Kyoka, and we were against Kaken and Ida. Hey, Izuku. Jiro called out as she approached me, and I waved. Do you have a plan? She asked. Well, it's not really a plan, more like intuition, I replied, noticing her confusion. I know that Kaken will come after me first, I told her, and I shared my thoughts on our strategy. Then All Might shouted, Go! Jiro and I ran into the building. Deku! Kaken shouted as he launched himself at me. I signaled to Jiro, and she nodded. Come at me with your fancy quirk, Deku, he taunted, and I smirked before running to a larger area. Stop running, Deku, I heard him shout and I halted. Kaken was skilled in close combat, so I needed to keep my distance until Jiro found the bomb. This would be a good time to use my Geo abilities. I summoned my catalyst, and Kaken chuckled. My mini Sealai, Kukurma, disappeared as I prepared for battle. I activated my first ability, causing a series of explosions that caught Kaken off guard. How weak, Kaken scoffed, charging at me, but he stepped on one of the mines I had set, causing it to explode. I changed my stance, still wielding my catalyst. Kaken yelled as I used another ability, launching him away. Whoa, Izuku is so manly, Kirishima remarked, and Kaminari nodded in agreement. He's handsome too. Mina shouted, and all the girls agreed. Tis lucky Biggie, Mineta muttered. My earpiece rang and it was Jiro. I found the bomb. It's on the 5th floor, she whispered. I'll be up there in about 5 minutes. You know the plan, I responded. Jiro used her quirk to break the floor, catching Ida off guard. Huh, found you, Ida said, but Jiro smirked as he struggled to navigate the damaged ground. Meanwhile, I was almost there, just 2 flights of stairs away, when Bakugo appeared and blasted me from behind. Gah! I gritted my teeth against the pain. You thought you finished me, Deku, he shouted, preparing to punch me, but I blocked it. I needed to create some distance. I unleashed my Anemo ability, summoning a large wind spirit that pulled and launched Bakugo away. SHTDY nerd, he yelled. Sorry, Kaken. I called back as I sprinted up the stairs. While Jiro distracted Ida, I managed to sneak up and touch the bomb. Hero team wins. All Might announced. After the match, I felt a surge of happiness. I went to check on Kaken, who was unconscious on the ground, and with the help of Ida and Jiro, I carried him out. So, can anyone explain how Izuku and Jiro won? All Might asked. Momo stepped forward. I can. Before going into the building, Izuku predicted what his opponents would do. This method won't work all the time, but in this situation it did. He knew Bakugo would come after him first, leaving Ida with the bomb. Izuku also studied his opponent well and understood that Bakugo excelled in close combat, so he kept his distance. Jiro followed his plan and distracted Ida, allowing Izuku to reach the bomb, Momo explained, leaving All Might speechless. I waited outside the school for Eri, and when I saw her she shouted, "Dad!" and ran to me. "Hey, how was school?" I asked her. "It was great. I made a new friend, but he left earlier," she replied, and I smiled. "That's good," I said, and then I heard someone call my name. "Oh, Izuku. You're here too," Tsu said as she approached. "Hello, Tsu." I smiled back. "Is that your little sister?" she asked. "No. Dad is my dad, not my brother," Eri interjected. "Wow, who knew you'd done it at such a young age?" Tsu said, and I felt myself blush. Eri had a rough past, and I took her in, I explained, and she chuckled. "Anyways, what are you doing here?" I asked. "I'm picking up my little sister," she replied, and then we said our goodbyes. Once Eri and I got home, I helped her with her homework and did mine. Afterward, I made us some food and we sat down to eat. "So, what's your friend's name?" I asked Eri. "His name is Koda, and he doesn't like heroes or villains. But I told him about you, and he said that you sounded cool." Eri exclaimed with excitement. After we finished eating, I put Eri to bed and started my training. I played games until 11 o'clock and trained until 12. I then fell asleep next to Eri. The next day, I woke up earlier because Shinso was going to school today. After I dropped Eri off, I rushed over to UA and saw Shinso. "Shinso!" I shouted, and he turned around. "Hello, Izuku," he smiled. "I was kind of lonely yesterday when you weren't here." "I'm glad you're better," I said, and we walked over to 1A. "Hey, Izuku. Who's this?" Mina sprang up. "He's Shinso. He's not talkative at first. His quirk is brainwashing. Really cool, right?" I asked, and Mina nodded. Everyone introduced themselves to Shinso, then Aizawa came out. "Everybody sit down. As you can see, we have another student. He couldn't come the first day because he was sick. Anyway, it's time for you to pick the class president and vice president." "Don't wake me up," Aizawa said and rolled himself to a nap. "How should we do this?" Uraraka asked. "We should do a fair vote," Ida said, and everyone agreed. Some people opted out of being president or vice president, including me. Momo got the most votes, and then Ida got the second most votes, making them president and vice president. I was content with the results because I thought Momo would be a great leader. "Why, thank you guys for voting for me, but I would like to know why," she asked. "You placed first in the quirk assessment test. You also understood what happened in our heroes versus villains. So I thought you were fit for this role," I told her, and she blushed. After we all went to lunch, Paimon whined. Paimon is sad that there is no sticky honey roast. I opened my inventory and gave her the food she likes. "Oh, Izuku, that was cool. I saw you do that on the assessment yesterday," Uraraka said. "What is it?" she asked. "It's my healing food. My quirk has HP like a video game. One of my attacks that I did back there had to waste my HP. So eating this food would heal my HP," I explained, and she nodded. "Your quirk is quite interesting, Izuku," Ida said, and I chuckled. "Also, Izuku, how is your daughter?" Tsu asked, and Ida got up. "Izuku, you have a daughter?" "You are too young to give consent," Shinso cut off Ida. "Wait, you have a daughter, Izuku?" "I thought I was your best friend," he said, and I scratched the back of my neck. "Deku!" I heard Kaken scream behind me. "You have a daughter, you who I nerd?" Kaken shouted, and explosions came out of his hands. "Izuku! Bro, you have a daughter?" Kirishima and Kaminari said together. Lucky guy, he got to do it before I did. He got the pleasure of touching girls without them hitting him. Mineta muttered. Calm down everyone, Momo stood. I'll explain everything. Izuku has a daughter, but not a biological one. He told me she bumped into him, and she had a rough past. He then took her in and she calls him Dad, Momo explained, and everyone hummed. Then small sniffles could be heard. So manly, Kirishima said through his tears. Why yeah, Kaminari followed behind. That's very noble of you, Izuku, Ida said, and I awkwardly chuckled. We all ate our lunches and then headed back to class. Paimon wonders how Eri-chan is doing. Paimon put her hand on her chin as I sat down at my desk. I bet she is doing great, I responded, and Paimon nodded, then disappeared. Sit down, problem children. Okay, we are going to have a trip tomorrow, Aizawa announced, and everyone started to shout with excitement. We are going to USJ for training, Aizawa said, and everyone was ecstatic. The next day, we all got on the bus for our trip to USJ. I was really excited. I sat down next to Tsu and Shinso. Paimon was sitting on my lap, sleeping. Izuku, I usually say what is on my mind, so can I ask you a question? Tsu turned to me. Why do you hide your last name? She asked, and I got tense. Kaken could see how tense I was. He doesn't have to tell you anything. Kaken shouted and sat back down. It's okay, Kaken, I said. Well, there is a reason why, but I'd rather not say. All the teachers and pro heroes know why. I might tell you someday, I responded with a smirk, and she nodded. Izuku, your quirk is so cool and flashy. I wish I had a quirk like that, Kirishima said excitedly. I just chuckled. I think your quirk is great too. It's great defense, I responded, and he seemed happy to get a compliment. Yeah, but it's not as cool as yours, Bakugo's or Todoroki's, he said. But I don't think Bakugo is going to be very popular because of his temper, Tsu said, and Kaken got up to shout at her. Then Paimon woke up and shouted at Kaken. Okay, we hear you. Now shut up, problem children, Aizawa said, and we all got off the bus. When we got off, Pro Hero 13 greeted us and told us about the place. As we went inside, she talked to us about her quirk and what she specialized in. Then I zoned out, but I heard Aizawa shout something. Get the kids, he shouted, and 13 gathered us. There was this black/purple mist, and what came next were villains. It looked like thousands of them, and Aizawa-sensei was fighting all of them, doing his best to protect us. I watched in awe until the mist came to us, and we couldn't see anything. Before I knew it, I was thrown into the water, but I quickly activated my catalyst. Hydro alternate sprint. Illusory torrent. I cloaked myself within the water's flow, consuming stamina to move rapidly. Underwater, I could move at high speed. Suddenly, I hit something with my head, and it hurt. I looked up to see a boat, but I couldn't climb it. Then I felt something wrap around me. It was Tsu's tongue. She launched me up, and I landed safely on the boat with Tsu and Mineta. Izuku, are you okay? Tsu asked, and I nodded. I glanced over at Mineta, who was panicking. Eek! They are around us, he shouted, running in circles. Calm down, this isn't the worst situation ever, I reassured him, but he continued to freak out. I noticed water-type quirks surrounding us. We should just sit and wait for the pros, Mineta suggested, sounding a bit calmer. We can't just wait for people to save us. We're surrounded and they're waiting for us to fight, I said, causing him to panic again. I'm guessing they don't know what our quirks are because they put you, I pointed at Tsu, here instead of the fire zone. She nodded in agreement. They both shared details about their quirks. I was formulating a plan when suddenly, the boat was cut in half. Hurry up. We are getting bored here, a villain called out, his quirk clearly powerful. They must be waiting for us to get into the water. I told Tsu and Mineta. An idea struck me and I shared my plan. Are you sure? Tsu asked and I nodded. Mineta was still nervous but agreed to follow the plan. I summoned my catalyst again and checked my stats. I was able to use 2 elemental bursts. Taking a deep breath, I jumped into the water. A Nemo elemental burst, forbidden creation. I aimed at the ocean's center, unleashing an unstable concoction that created a large wind spirit. It would continuously pull and launch nearby villains while dealing a Nemo damage. "Tsu! My netta!" I shouted. Tsu jumped and wrapped her tongue around me, while my netta threw the ball on his head at the villains, making them stick together. I then unleashed another elemental burst. Electro-elemental burst. Lightning rose, a purple lake formed, unleashing powerful lightning bolts that launched surrounding villains and dealt electro damage. The lightning rose emitted lightning continuously, knocking back opponents. The combination of water and lightning from my elemental burst created an electrocharge. Tsu landed in the water near Aizawa, who was fighting valiantly. I admired his skills, but I noticed he could only hold his gaze for 30 seconds. Suddenly, a massive creature appeared, the size of All Might, maybe even stronger. It relentlessly slammed Aizawa's head down onto the floor. I couldn't bear to watch. I spawned a bow and executed a normal charged attack. Hydro normal charged ATK. Cutting torrent, I performed a precise aimed shot with increased damage. As I aimed, Hydro's power accumulated on the arrowhead, dealing Hydro damage and applying a Riptide status. Electro Elemental Skill ATK. Nightrider, a Night Raven forged of darkness and lightning descended, dealing electro damage in a small area. The creature became electrocharged and was shocked. "Nomu," the hand man shouted, looking in my direction. World paused. "Paimon is here. You must choose one of these elements left." Paimon summoned the elemental shards. I chose Cryo Ice. World unpaused. The hand man charged at me, but Tsu quickly wrapped her tongue around me and pulled me away. "It seems we have more," he mused, lost in thought. I seized the opportunity to test my new element. I used my bow again for an elemental charged attack. Cryo, normal charged ATK. Catsline style, I performed a precise aimed shot with increased damage, aiming as biting frost accumulated on the arrowhead. A fully charged frost arrow would deal cryo damage to the man. However, the Nomu blocked it, and since it was wet, it froze. "What did you do to my Nomu?" he shouted. "Tsu, my netta," and I climbed out of the water to the battlefield. "This is no good without Nomu," he rambled, giving us time to reach Aizawa. "Aizawa-sensei," I called, but he didn't respond. "Let's move him to the corner over there," I suggested, and they nodded. "Do you think he will hold up, Izuku?" Tsu asked. "Not naturally. I could heal him, but I need to fight more," I replied, noticing her confusion. "I'll explain later. Right now, the Nomu is about to be unfrozen. I haven't mstred this ice element yet," I added, and she nodded. I stood up and turned. "Are you sure you can take on the huge creature?" Mineta asked, and I shook my head. "As long as I can get a couple of hits in, I can release some of my power moves and heal Aizawa-sensei," I said with determination. "Just stay here, and I will do my best," I instructed them, and they nodded. Then the Nomu unfroze, and I approached it. "Nomu, kill the kid," the handman commanded, and the Nomu charged at me with incredible speed. I couldn't react fast enough. It hit me, and I coughed blood. I realized I might be in serious trouble. Chapter End. Izuku POV. I coughed, feeling the sting of blood at the back of my throat. The Nomu's hit felt like a piercing sword. Wiping the blood from my face, I summoned my bow. Just a couple more hits, and I could heal Aizawa-sensei. My HP was 3002 out of 5. I couldn't let that creature hit me again, or I wouldn't be able to use my quirk. The Nomu lunged for another punch, but I quickly activated an elemental skill. I fired an icy paw that dealt cryo damage to the Nomu and formed a shield around me upon impact. The shield absorbed some damage but faded quickly. I spawned a sword, knowing I couldn't defeat the Nomu outright, so I had to be strategic. Using the Ice Vein Talisman, I summoned the Herald of Frost, dealing cryo damage to the Nomu. It barely affected it, but it slowly regenerated my HP. My HP rose to 4028 out of 5. I switched to my catalyst and executed a normal attack, performing 4 water splash attacks that dealt hydro damage. The Nomu froze, and I summoned my claymore, swinging it to shatter the ice and slow the Nomu's movements. I checked my stats and realized I could perform 2 elemental bursts. Taking a deep breath, I sucked back to my. But this would be a stretch. I summoned a raven that spread its wings and defended me, increasing my speed and allowing it to fight on my behalf for a short time. I rushed over to Aizawa to unleash another elemental burst. I tossed out a special cold brew that dealt area of effect cryo damage and created a healing mist. This won't heal Aizawa-sensei fully, just some wounds and his HP for the use of his quirk, I explained. Oh, it looks like it's working. He is gaining consciousness, Sue pointed out. Just then, I realized I had forgotten about the Nomu. As my raven disappeared, the Nomu charged at me. I turned, but I couldn't move in time, feeling a rush of dread. Suddenly, I heard a voice. I am here. A gust of wind followed, and I opened my eyes to see All Might. You did well, young Izuku, he said, and I nodded. Now take Aizawa over to the others, he instructed. I can't do that, All Might. He's healing right now, and if I move him before the mist disappears, he might be in great pain, I explained. All Might understood. Then once it disappears, take him to the others, he smiled, and I nodded. Nomu, kill All Might, the handman commanded, and the Nomu charged. All Might dodged its attack with impressive speed. I watched the fight, noting that All Might was struggling. The Nomu was relentless, and I could see my mist fading. Izuku, let's carry Aizawa-sensei over to the others, Sue urged, and I nodded. We carefully moved him, walking toward the others. I glanced back at the dust cloud where All Might and the Nomu had been fighting, hoping he was all right. I'm glad you guys are okay. We were all worried. Ochako greeted us. What happened to Aizawa-sensei? Momo asked. This huge mutant creature attacked him. I tried to heal him, but it only addressed some minor injuries, and he's still half conscious, I explained. I looked around, noticing Kaken was missing. Where's Kaken? I asked. They all looked confused. Oh, you mean Bakugo? Mina clarified, and I nodded. That's such a cute nickname, she added, while Kaminari snickered. He, Kirishima, and Todoroki aren't back yet. Momo began, but was interrupted. Eh? What did you say, Ponytail? We aren't dead. Kaken shouted as he appeared with Kirishima and Todoroki. Then we heard glass shatter above us and looked up to see the Nomu flying into the sky. He didn't get any weaker at all. Did he lie to me? The handman muttered, stepping back into the black and purple mist. One day after the USJ fight. Paimon wonders who's going to be your teacher because you know. Paimon trailed off. I wonder too, Izuku said as he opened the door to Class 1A, where everyone was chatting. Good morning, Izuku, Momo greeted him with a smile, and he bowed in response. Hey, Izuku. Ochako beamed, and he returned her smile. You were really great yesterday, Sue said, and Izuku thanked her. Oh, Sue told me about you. I wish I could have seen it in action. Hagakure exclaimed, making Izuku blush. I bet he was impressive, Mina added, causing him to blush even more. Sue told me too. That's very cool of you, Jiro said, and he thanked her again. Tis I helped too, Mineta chimed in from the corner. Wow, Izuku is so manly. Kirishima exclaimed. Yeah, he's strong and gets the girls. I aspire to be him, Kaminari added. Tisich, Bakugo responded. Hey, why does he call you Kaken? Kirishima asked. Yeah, Kaken why? Kaminari teased. Shut up, extras. Bakugo shouted, causing them to back down. Tease, we are childhood friends, he finally admitted, and the others sat in awe. Everyone then sat down in their seats and waited for their teacher or substitute. Hello, problem children, a mummy said, causing everyone to feel uneasy. Aizawa-sensei? Mina asked. Yes, it's me, problem children. I can still work. Anyway, you guys have a big event coming up, he said, and everyone groaned. It's the sports festival, he continued, and the room fell silent. Are you sure we should do this? I mean, we just fought. Ida stood up. Yes, I'm sure. You don't want others thinking that you got beat up by some villains and couldn't compete, do you? He asked, and Ida fell silent. Now prepare yourselves and don't wake me up, he said before proceeding to nap. Izuku POV. Sports festival? Is there going to be food there? Paimon asked. I don't think so. I think it's for us to show our talent. Right, Shinso? I told her. Yeah, the sports festival is for us to showcase our abilities. Agencies are watching us and choosing people to work with them, Shinso responded, and my eyes sparkled. I need to level up, I said, clenching my fist. You mean training? Shinso asked, and I shook my head. I mean level up. At least get to LVL. Right now I'm at LVL 53, so I need to play games more and train my body, I said, and he looked at me in confusion. The bell rang and we both packed our things. I opened the door and found people blocking the way. Excuse me? I asked, noticing the girls blushing. What's going on? Ochako shouted. What business may you have with Class A? Ida asked. Scooping for enemies, for eyes, Kaken said, walking over to the door. Out of my way, extras, he shouted, and everyone moved aside. Kaken. You shouldn't say that to them, I told him, and he rolled his eyes. Sorry, everyone. That's just how he acts, I said, leaving with Shinso. Only a week until the sports festival. I needed to get better. To be continued. Izuku POV. I trained hard all week with Shinso. He would come over to my place after school, and Eri would sometimes watch us. If one of us got hurt, she would heal us. Soon, it was the day of the sports festival. Bye, Eri, I said, kissing her on the head. Bye-bye, Dad. You better win, she told me, and I chuckled. You think I'll lose? I asked, and she giggled before leaving with the teacher. You sure are confident, Paimon stated. I guess. I mean, I'm at level 59. I said, and she nodded. True, and you have Mstred Cryo, she said, spinning around. Paimon and I continued to talk, and soon we arrived at UA. There was a group of reporters and other people. Excuse me? I said, and everyone turned. Excuse me, sir? Are you a participant in the sports festival? What class are you in? A lady asked, shoving a microphone in my face. Yes, and I am in Class 1A, I replied, and then everyone surrounded me with questions. Ahem. Paimon thinks it would be nice for you guys to move. We have to get in. Paimon shouted, and everyone quieted as we pushed our way through. Whoa! There is food here. You lied to Paimon, she exclaimed, looking at all the food. Sorry, Paimon, we need to get going or we'll be late, I said. She sulked but followed. We finally reached the waiting room, and I sat down while Paimon started eating. Paimon, you really had to sneak out and spend my money on food? I asked her. Paimon needs nutrition too, she said, continuing to munch. Izuku, I heard someone say my name from behind. Todoroki? I asked, and everyone turned in our direction. I know you're one of the strongest in our class, and I just want to say that I'm stronger than you, he said, and I was taken aback. Hey! Why are you so mean? Paimon shouted. I'm going to beat you and win, Todoroki continued, ignoring her. Paimon is really angry, she started, but I chuckled. Why are you laughing? He asked. Sorry, but I'm not going to back down from such a declaration. I know you have your reasons for saying this. I have my reasons for fighting back, I smirked, and he nodded before leaving the room. Oh man, that gave me chills, Kaminari said, and everyone agreed. And here they are. Class 1A. Mike shouted, and everyone cheered. Wow, there were a lot of people. All of the first years came out, and for some reason, I felt so excited. Now time for the hero pledge. Midnight announced on the stage, and I could tell all the boys were blushing. What is Midnight wearing? Kirishima asked. Her hero costume, I responded. How are you not fazed by this? Kaminari asked, and I just shrugged. Now time for our Class 1A representative. Bakugo Katsuki. Midnight shouted. Everyone in 1A said. Kaken, don't say anything dumb, I warned him. Steve, when do I say anything dumb, Deku? He replied. He walked up to the microphone and declared, I pledge to be the #1 pro hero. Boos erupted from the crowd. I could feel the tension rising against our class. Kaken, why would you say that? I asked him. Because it's true, he shouted, and I scratched the back of my head. Now, let's start the first game. Midnight announced, launching into a speech. I zoned out for a moment. Now, here is the first game, she shouted, and the wheel behind her spun. It landed on an obstacle race, and everyone lined up at the start. I opened my inventory to get some food that would increase my stamina and defense. I found just what I needed and started to eat. What is that guy doing? I heard some people whisper. I started to glow, and the chatter around me faded as everyone focused on their own tasks. Then Midnight shouted, "Start!" and everyone ran. The tunnel was tight, and I had to push myself through. Suddenly, I felt the coldness. That's when I knew Todoroki had already started. The whole tunnel turned to ice, and most of the people were stuck. Luckily, I wasn't. I tried to run, but it was slippery. I had to think quickly. I took out my bow and summoned a wind domain at my location, launching myself into the air. I then used my wing glider to glide over the ice. I was close to Todoroki at this point and saw him look up. I smiled and waved, and he looked a bit like Kaken. Lots of targets found, I heard a robotic voice say below me. I looked down and saw the 0-pointer I had defeated back at the entrance exam, but there were many of them. I decided to keep gliding. Izuku has cleared it by just gliding? I heard Mike say, and I smirked. Todoroki has cleared it too. Mike announced, and I looked behind me to see Todoroki. I decided to land. I took off my glider and summoned my polearm, making a plunge attack down and landing safely. Oh. It looks like Izuku decided to be on his feet. Eraserhead? Mike asked, and Eraserhead just groaned. Oh. Eri, your dad is so cool. Koda said to Eri, who nodded proudly. Eri, that's your dad, another girl asked, and Eri nodded again. He's so cool, another boy chimed in. Back at the sports festival, I called out, "Hey, Todoroki-kun," but he ignored me, focused on the race. I checked my stats and saw my stamina was low. I opened my inventory for more food and looked behind me. An angry Kaken was approaching, along with many other students. Deku! Half and half, he yelled, flying through the air with explosive energy. I found the food to increase my stamina and ate it. It was delicious, and I almost forgot I was in a race. Todoroki and I approached the fall. I wasn't sure how to tackle it, but Todoroki used his ice, of course. I decided to glide again. Todoroki clears it with elegance, Mike said. I felt a bit disappointed in myself for only gliding. I wanted to use my other elements. I sighed and continued gliding until the end. Izuku cleared it, and he's right behind Todoroki. Mike shouted. After a while, I encountered landmines. I saw Todoroki struggling while I glided above. The downside of gliding was the slow wind speed, which made it hard to gain momentum. Suddenly, I heard a scream. The half and half. It was Kaken, who landed next to Todoroki. Looks like we have a new person in first place. Bakugo Katsuki, Mike yelled. Kaken and Todoroki had a brief spar. I turned to see others catching up through the landmines. I needed to think fast and push myself forward. I took off my glider again and summoned my claymore. I plunged from midair, striking the ground and causing damage along the path. The landmine exploded, giving me the boost I needed. Izuku, taking the lead and leaving those two behind. Mike shouted. I stood on my claymore blade like a skateboard, holding the grips. Deku! How dare you get in front of me? Kaken yelled from behind, and I saw Todoroki catching up. Once they got closer, I performed another plunge attack, throwing them off balance. Then I switched to my catalyst. I hurled an unstable concoction that created a large wind spirit, which continuously pulled and launched both of them while dealing a Nemo damage. I spawned my bow and performed a charged shot, which would slow their movement and give me more time to secure first place. Deku! I heard Kaken scream as I continued to run. Wow! Look at that combo! What are you teaching them, Eraserhead? Mike asked. This wasn't my doing. They all learned by themselves, he replied. I ran toward the finish line. My elemental burst must have timed out by now, but the ice should hinder them a bit. I saw the light of the finish line ahead. The person in first place is Izuku. Mike shouted, and everyone cheered. Wow. Eri, your dad won. He was so awesome, Kota said, making Eri smile even more. His quirk is so cool, another student remarked. I wish I had a quirk like that, a boy added. Eri felt proud to have a dad like Izuku. That kid, a guy said, scratching his neck. I must do something about him, he's getting in the way, I thought. Izuku POV. I did it. I made first place. After the qualifier, I waited for the others, got yelled at by Kaken, and tried to talk to Todoroki, but he just ignored me again. Time for the Calvary battle with the top 42 qualifiers, Midnight announced, giving another speech. Izuku, who placed first in the qualifier, is worth 10 million points, she shouted, and I could feel the weight of everyone's stares. We had 15 minutes to choose our team, and I sighed, thinking about how I was a huge target and no one would want to team up with me. Izuku. A cheerful voice broke through my thoughts. Let's team up. It was Ochako. I nodded, relieved. I'll add you to my party setup, I explained, and she looked confused. It's part of my quirk. Whatever boosts I have, you'll have too. You can also use my weapons and gliders. Her eyes widened in awe. You stand out. Ochako and I turned to see a girl with pink hair approaching. Team up with me, person in first place, she said. Who are you? I asked. I am Hatsum Mei, from the support course, she replied, taking off her goggles. If I team up with you guys, I'll be looked at by everyone, right? If that's true, then my cute inventions will be seen by big companies. She continued enthusiastically, explaining her quirk, which allowed her to zoom in on objects. Well, I guess you could join us, I said, adding her to our party. I looked around and saw everyone else already teamed up, except for one person, or should I say bird. Tokoyami-kun. I called and he turned around. Why don't you join our team? You'd be great for power. He nodded, and I added him to our party. With 5 minutes left, I opened my inventory and distributed gliders to everyone. I ate food that boosted our stamina, defense, and attack. Oh, I'm glowing, Ochako exclaimed, and I chuckled. It's the effect of the food, I told her. I feel stronger, Tokoyami added, and I nodded. That's what it's supposed to do. What I just ate will increase all of our stamina, attack, health, and defense. We took our positions as Mike counted down to 0, and everyone made their move. They rushed towards us, and I was glad I had my catalyst ready. Suddenly, the floor seemed to turn into quicksand. Turn your faces, Hatsum and Ochako. I instructed, and they complied. I activated the jetpack that Hatsum made and flew out of there just in time. Jiro! I heard Hagakure shout. Jiro then used her quirk to try to snatch my headband. Dark Shadow! Tokoyami called, and his quirk defended us as we landed safely on the ground, thanks to Ochako and Hatsum. 2 teams charged after us, and we planned to fly up, but Ochako got stuck. Shoji had his teammates guarded, and suddenly, a tongue shot past my face. I dodged just in time to see Tsu and Mineta coming at us. Izuku, we need to go! Tokoyami shouted, and I pressed the button on the jetpack. My baby! Hatsum exclaimed. Sorry, but we needed to get out of there. I replied. Deku! I heard Kaken yell as he launched himself towards us. I performed several water splash attacks that dealt damage to Kaken, causing his explosive hand to disappear. He started to fall, but Zero caught him. The crowd erupted in cheers as we landed. All we need to do is run, I began, but we almost fell when I looked up and saw Todoroki. I'll be taking that, he said, and before I knew it, all the teams were charging at us again. Momo created a type of sheet to hold them down. I noticed Kaminari charging up, and I needed to think quickly. Hide Dark Shadow away, I whispered to Tokoyami, who complied. Then Kaminari unleashed his charge, and I prepared my own attack. I activated my quirk, unleashing a powerful attack that created a massive explosion. I pressed the button for the jetpack, but it malfunctioned. Looking up, I saw Todoroki's team, singed but still in the fight. He froze everyone near him and charged after us. I summoned my sword for an elemental burst. "Hang on, everyone," I shouted, and they clung to me as I unleashed a tornado that pulled Todoroki's team toward us, dealing damage with each second. What's happening?" I heard Kaminari shout. "He's using his quirk. He must have used this on Todoroki and Bakugo during the race," Momo yelled. "No, he used something else. Last time, he used something that SCK'd us in and launched us back. This is like a tornado that won't launch us. Try to stay in formation. We don't know how long this will last," Todoroki responded. Todoroki's POV. "I can see that old man watching me. Don't mind him. How many more minutes do we have? 30 seconds? Izuku said his quirk is RPG. RPG? I don't understand. It's supposed to be a type of game, but how does he have all of these moves? I trained my whole life for this. I guess some people are just blessed." The tornado disappeared, and we had 5 seconds to steal Izuku's points. We ran to him as fast as we could, Kaminari using his volts to speed us up. Soon, he hit a short circuit, so I had to rely on Momo and Ida. I was so close to Izuku, but time's up. Let's look at our ranks. In first, we have Izuku's team. They were able to stay on top. Next, Todoroki Shoto with the same number of points. Bakugo Katsuki in third and, What? It's Shinso's team? Mike shouted. Izuku was walking to the cafeteria when someone approached him. "Izuku, let's talk," Todoroki said, and Izuku nodded. They walked to a secluded place, where no one was around. Izuku's POV. Todoroki asked me to talk to him. Well, not really asked. He told me to, but whatever. I wonder what he wants to discuss. "So? What do you want to talk about?" I asked him, and he stayed silent. He then shared what happened when he was younger, and honestly, it was unfortunate. "I know you are the most powerful person in our class, but I will rise above you with just my right side," he said, and I looked at him. "I guess if you told me all of this, I might as well share some of mine." I stretched my arms up, and he looked at me, confused. To be continued. Izuku's POV. "When I was 4, I was diagnosed as quirkless," I told him. He looked shocked. After I cried and cried, my mother comforted me most of the time, but she had a lot of work to do. "My father left us, or so I think, when I was born," I said with a slight smile. The next day, I went to school and told my best friend, Kaken, that I was quirkless. After I did, he changed. He was always hot-headed, but then he started to bully me. Todoroki looked at me with a little sympathy. Then, on my 13th birthday, my mom got me a video game that I had always wanted. My quirk also activated around this time. It was the best birthday ever, but who knew that would be the day my mom died, I said and looked down. "Do you remember the case of Midoriya Izuku and her son who went missing but was presumed found now?" I asked him, and he nodded, then realized. "Are you the kid who was missing?" he asked, and I nodded. "Don't tell anyone though, the pro heroes know already, and so does Kaken," I told him. "We better head back before we are late," I said and left. "Time for the one-on-one battles," Mike announced. I was up against Zero. Rules are simple. Just get your opponent out of bounds or immobilized. Mike yelled. Zero looked hyped and I was calm. His quirk is tape, and he needs distance to use it well. I need to get closer and closer to him. Mike shouted go, and Zero already started. He tried to catch me with his tape, but I dodged them. I summoned my polearm. I swiftly shifted my position to appear behind Zero and then pierced and slashed him with my polearm, dealing damage. I slashed him in the blind spot behind the neck and knocked him out. Zero is immobilized. Izuku wins. What a boring first start. Mike screamed. Zero was put on a stretcher and taken to Recovery Girl. I then walked back to the waiting room to grab water and walked up to the bleachers. All the battles were kind of expected. The only fight I enjoyed was Kaken and Ochako's. It was fascinating, and there were times I thought Ochako would win and others where I thought Kaken would win. Kaken won, and I went to congratulate him. Kaken, nice job winning. I said, "Tis whatever, nerd," he replied, and I turned around. Deku, he then said, and I turned back around. "You better beat half and half," he said, then walked away. I smirked. As I walked to the battlefield, I saw Todoroki. I smiled at him, and he nodded. "Start," Mike said, and Todoroki immediately used his ice. I summoned my claymore at the same time. My claymore was covered with fire, and I hit Todoroki's ice. It dealt damage, and this skill can only be used 3 times. Good thing it was enough to block the ice. Now it's my turn. I changed to my bow. "Baron Bunny," I said, and a bunny appeared. It was as if Todoroki was put under a spell when the bunny came out. Baron Bunny was taunting Todoroki, drawing his fire. While he was distracted, I took this as an opportunity to plan my next move. "Oh, what is this? It seems like Todoroki is under some kind of spell?" Mike shouted. I changed to my polearm and looked up to see Todoroki hitting my puppet. Baron Bunny then exploded, knocking Todoroki down. I rushed over to him and charged forward, using my Anemo skill to deal damage. I heard him grunt and quickly moved behind him. He turned and shot ice, but I was too slow to. Todoroki POV. I wanted to move, but I felt an urge to hit the dancing doll for some reason. When I finally did, an explosion knocked me down, and I struggled to get up. I was then hit in the stomach. "Ak!" I shouted quietly. I turned and shot ice at Izuku. "Oh, it seems like Todoroki landed a hit on Izuku." Mike shouted. It wasn't enough to immobilize him. "Todoroki, use your fire," he urged. "No," I shouted back. "Izuku POV. No? I guess I'll have to make you," I said, summoning my claymore. "Let's do ice against ice," I shouted. He looked confused and I smirked. I swiftly shifted my position to appear behind Todoroki and pierced him with my polearm, dealing cryo damage. "Ak," he groaned. "Oh, it's an ice battle," Mike screamed. "Come on, use your fire." "You won't win if you don't use it," I told him, and he shook his head. He sent more ice my way and I dodged to the left. The whole area was chilly, and the crowd was shaking. I swung my weapon to slash Todoroki and summoned a frigid ice lance that struck the ground, dealing cryo damage. The ice lance released blasts of cold air, dealing more damage. I checked my stats. I needed to heal. I looked up at Todoroki and saw him shivering. "Todoroki, I can see you shivering. You need to use your fire to save yourself," I shouted, but he was stubborn. "No, I won't use that old man's quirk," he shouted, and I felt frustrated. "It's your quirk, not his," I yelled, breathing. Suddenly, it was as if something ignited in Todoroki, and his fireside exploded with immense power. "It looks like Todoroki decided to use his fire," Mike shouted, and I smirked. "Thank you, Izuku," he said, sending fire my way. Switching to my catalyst, I used hydro. I cloaked myself in water and dodged his fire, sprinting across the floor. I got some burn marks, but once Todoroki was done, there was a lot of dust in the air. "Huh? Where's Izuku?" Mike shouted, and I smirked, jumping up from the floor. "What? Izuku has blended into the floor?" Mike screamed. I summoned sparkling waves, creating a reflection of the starry sky that trapped Todoroki inside a pocket of destiny. I switched to my sword and unleashed the power of lightning, dealing electro damage in an area. I blended into the shadow of my blade, striking a series of thunderclap blows to Todoroki, which dealt multiple instances of damage. "Ak!" he exclaimed as the final attack knocked him down, leaving him immobile. Izuku is the winner of this round," Mike announced. Todoroki was rushed to Recovery Girl. I felt bad for going hard on him, but I needed to win. My next battle was with Kaken, and I was nervous. Third POV. "Oh, did you see that? Your dad just went zoom zoom then bam," a kid said to Eri, who giggled. "Your dad is so cool." "Yeah," Eri replied, looking at the TV with stars in her eyes. To be continued. Izuku POV. I went to check on Todoroki to see if he was okay. I opened the door and saw that he was awake. "Hello, Todoroki-kun," I said, walking up to him. "Hello, Izuku." We sat in silence for a moment. "Oh, here is something that will help a little," I said, handing him a delicious tea break pancake. "This will heal you a bit, and for me, it allows me to use my quirk longer." Thank you, Izuku. For this and what you did back there, he said. No problem, that's what friends do. I smiled and he returned a slight smile. Oh, I got to go. I'm gonna beat Kaken, I said as I left. Here are our finalists. Izuku from 1A and Bakugo from 1A. Mike announced. When he said go, Kaken came at me with a full blast, almost too fast for me to react. I dodged just in time but still got some burn marks. I let out. I needed to distance myself, but he was persistent. Stop moving, Deku, he shouted, throwing another punch. I flipped back to gain some distance and summon my bow. I performed a precise aimed shot, charging my arrow with hydro damage. An arrow fully charged would apply the Riptide status, causing opponents affected by it to suffer additional damage when attacked. DMG dealt in this way is considered normal attack damage. I unleashed a set of weaponry made of pure water, dealing hydro damage to Kaken and entering melee stance. In this stance, my normal and charged attacks were converted to hydro damage that could not be overridden by any other elemental infusion. I performed up to 6 slashes on him. Since he was affected by Riptide, a melee attack unleashed a Riptide slash that dealt AoE hydro damage. Ack, he shouted in pain. I switched to my sword. I emitted ice around myself and shortly afterward launched nearby opponents, dealing cryo damage. I froze Kaken and then launched him. Ack, he hit the ground. Is he out? Mike asked quietly. Deku. Kaken shouted, throwing an explosive at my face. I fell down, but he picked me up and launched me out. I managed to plug myself into the ground to avoid going out of bounds. I checked my stats. My HP was at 5,680/8. Kaken launched himself at me, but then changed his position and exploded my back. I fell forward onto my chest. I got up but was hit in the face again. This time, I got up faster and dodged. I did some flips to create distance. Kaken launched himself at me again, and I switched to my polearm. I lunged forward, dealing an Nemo damage to opponents in my path. I then switched back to my sword and used the Ice Vein Talisman to bring forth the Herald of Frost, dealing cryo damage to Kaken. My normal and charged attacks would do more damage and regenerate my HP. Kaken quickly got up and blasted my stomach, but I held my balance and felt a breeze. I looked down and saw my uniform top was ripped. While I was distracted, Kaken blasted me repeatedly. I used my arm to block a blast and flipped back to create some distance. He stood up and took his stance. I switched my stance to be more comfortable for hydro moves and began to sprint toward Kaken. I initiated Rainbow Blade work, fighting with an illusory sword rain while creating the maximum number of rain swords. My normal attacks triggered consecutive sword rain attacks, dealing hydro damage. I created a blade storm that dealt cryo damage over time to all opponents caught within. When the damage over time ended, the blade storm exploded, dealing extra cryo damage to all opponents in a wider radius. Kaken was frozen by elemental reactions. The crowd roared, and I walked away until I heard a crack. I turned around, and before I could react, Kaken sent a huge blast. Everything went black. Ares POV. I was watching the TV and saw Papa freeze the man. I was so happy that he won, but before the announcer could declare it, a huge explosion occurred. When the dust cleared, I saw Papa on the floor. I was really worried about him. Then the blonde man picked Papa up by the shirt and started yelling at him. Why though? The announcer declared that the blonde, angry guy won. I felt sad, but at least Papa got second place. Izuku's POV. I opened my eyes and saw white. I got up and realized I was in Recovery Girl's office. I turned and saw Todoroki looking out the window. Todoroki! I shouted and waved. Oh, Izuku, are you okay? He asked and I nodded. I saw what happened. I thought you were going to win, but I guess Bakugo broke out of your ice, Todoroki said. Yeah, I was quite shocked too. I don't think anyone has been able to break free from my cryo, I replied, looking down. Cryo? Is that ice? He asked. Yeah, for my quirk, I have elements with different names. Cryo, Electro, Pyro, Hydro, Geo, and I believe there's another one, I said, pondering. Your quirk is really cool, Izuku, Todoroki said in his usual emotionless voice. I think your quirk is amazing. I replied with a smile. Hurry up, kids, All Might is about to give out the awards. Recovery Girl called and we both got up. Todoroki was on the third podium, I was on second, and Kaken was on first. I didn't understand why he was so angry, maybe he wanted me to fight more. All Might soon came and gave us our medals. After school, I went to pick up Eri and walked there with Tsu. Congratulations, Izuku, Tsu told me. Thank you, you did well too, I replied. When we arrived at the school, Eri shouted, Dad, and hugged me. Well, goodbye, Izuku. See you tomorrow, Tsu said and waved. Are you hurt? Eri asked. I'm fine, sweetie. No need to worry. I reassured her, patting her head. To be continued. Izuku's POV. I hope Ida's brother is okay. I remember him leaving early, looking distressed. Dad, are you okay? Eri tugged on my jacket. Yeah, I'm just thinking. Oh, it looks like we are here, I said as we walked in. Okay, bye, Eri. I was cut off by a group of kids approaching me. Wow. Is this your dad, Eri? He was at the sports festival. So cool, one child exclaimed. Your quirk is amazing, sir, another added. I chuckled and replied, thanks, but I can't sit and chat. I need to get to school too. I got up and waved goodbye to Eri before heading to the bus stop. As I boarded the bus and grabbed onto the rails, someone called out, Hey, are you Izuku? I turned around. Why yeah, I responded. You were really great at the sports festival, the girl said, blushing. Oh, it's the kid from the sports festival. You were amazing. Compliments began to overwhelm me, and soon I got off the bus and entered U. Once I opened the door to my class, I heard my classmates discussing how many people had noticed them. So many people talked to me on my way here. Mina shouted. Yes, same. Kirishima added. People were staring at me too, and it was kind of embarrassing. Hagakure said. Isn't that normal for you? Ojiro responded. I sat down just as Aizawa walked in. He greeted us, and we all replied in unison. We have a special hero informatics class today, he announced, causing a wave of worry to ripple through the room. Code names. You'll be coming up with hero names. The class buzzed with excitement. And here are the totals for those with offers, Aizawa said, pulling out a remote. Everyone fell silent, focusing on the screen. Todoroki was first, then me, and then Kaken. I figured Todoroki had the most offers because he is the son of the number 2 hero. It seems that all eyes were on these three, Aizawa remarked. Todoroki first and Bakugo third? That's the total opposite, Jiro noted. Just then Midnight entered the room, and the boys began to chatter excitedly. Midnight is here to make sure your names are okay. I can't do stuff like that, Aizawa said, rolling himself into his signature sleeping bag. Midnight handed out papers for us to write our hero names. When it was my turn, I felt a bit nervous. Gaming hero, Deku, I said. Very interesting. Midnight responded, and everyone nodded in agreement. Izuku, why did you choose Deku as a hero name? Chako asked. I don't know, since Kaken calls me Deku, I might as well use it, even if it means useless, I said with a smile. Well, Deku kind of sounds like Dikairu, meaning you can do it. Ochako pointed out. Your name is cool too. I told her and she blushed. Yua. Anyways, where are you interning? She asked. I'm not sure. Who is Yuwabami? I replied and Ochako shrugged. Oh, you got an invite from her too? Momo chimed in and I nodded. I'm not sure either, but I'm going to her, Momo said. I already know where I'm going. Ochako exclaimed, drawing the attention of Tsu, Ojiro, and Mina. I'm going to Gunhead, she announced, and everyone was shocked. Ochako explained her reasoning, and everyone understood. Maybe I will go with Yuwabami, I muttered, realizing I might need to arrange care for Eri. I took out my phone to search for babysitters. Izuku, what are you looking at? Tsu asked, and some classmates turned to us. I'm trying to find someone to babysit Eri and take her to school, I replied. So manly, bro. You're a dad already, Kirishima said. Eri-chan can stay at my place with my sister. They're friends. After the sports festival, my little sister wouldn't stop talking about Aries' dad, Sue offered. Oh, thank you, I said gratefully. The next day, I woke up early and dropped Aries off at Sue's place. I stayed for 20 minutes, and then Sue and I walked to UA together. We received our hero costumes and boarded the bus. The drive to the airport took an hour. Aizawa reminded us to be on our best behavior. Momo and I both chose the same person to intern with. Why did you choose Uwabami? Momo asked. I chose her because I never heard of her before, and I want to know what she does. Also, her quirk. I explained. We arrived at the TV station and were led to a private room. In addition, heroes are allowed to have side jobs, Uwabami said while curling her eyelashes. She then turned to us and said, so now, I am about to film a commercial. But I wanted to do something more hero-related, a girl I believed was Kendo protested. No, this is not something to avoid when becoming a pro. Momo said with determination, while I simply shrugged. Besides, she fell for pathetic me. Momo joked, and I placed my hand on her shoulder. You're not pathetic. What you did at the Calvary match was amazing. I assured her, and she blushed. All we are going to be doing is watching her film, right? Kendo asked. Do you know why I chose you three? Uwabami then stood up. Nope, I replied. Isn't it because of our qualifications as heroes? Momo suggested. Of course, but that's not all, she said, leaving us puzzled. It's because you two girls are cute, and you are handsome, she added, pointing at me. We all exclaimed. To be honest, I was quite surprised that you, she pointed at me again, chose to intern with me. I thought you were going to choose someone else, Uwabami said, and I shrugged. I guess I could have, but I wonder how you would be, I responded, and she nodded. I like that, was all she said as she gave us her schedule for the day. Etchem. This has to be important for hero work, Momo said, and I chuckled. I don't think this will be for hero work, but it might be important sometime in the future, I said. Maybe. Oh yeah, let me introduce myself. Hello, I'm Kendo Itsuka from Class 1B, she said. Hello, I'm Izuku from Class 1A, I replied. I'm Yayarozu Momo from Class 1A. Please call me Momo, Momo added. Nice to meet you guys. I have to say that you two were great at the sports festival, Kendo said, giving us a thumbs up. I really hope that we will do hero work, she then said. We all walked out of the room to see that she was in an interview now. I heard you have some interns with you. Is that true? The reporter asked, and Uwabami nodded. Yes, they are all very kind and hero material, she said. Actually, they are here, Uwabami said, signaling us to come over. We all went to her, and she introduced us. Wow, you have the second-placed person interning with you? The interviewer said, a bit shocked. Yes, I was surprised too, Uwabami responded. Izuku, what made you choose Uwabami? He asked. I chose her because I wanted to know more about how she handles modeling and hero work, I replied, slightly bending the truth, but it was still accurate. I see, he said, and Uwabami nodded at me. The interview continued for 20 minutes, then we all left and got into her limo. Good job, Izuku. You really know how to answer questions, Uwabami complimented me. I learned it all from you, I responded, and she seemed surprised. Really? She asked, and I nodded. I heard how you responded to the first couple of questions and tried to emulate you, I said. Yes, this all seems very important to hero work because sometimes we will be asked questions and need to answer, Momo said to herself. I still want to do more hero work, Kendo muttered. I was quite content with what we were doing. It was interesting. We then pulled up to her agency. Okay, girls and boy. Time to take some profile pictures, Uwabami said as she got out of the car. Profile pictures? Momo asked. Yes, profile pictures are essential in modeling. Right now, I am helping you set up a side career. If you succeed in both, it means you succeed in multitasking, Uwabami explained as she fixed her lashes. Makes sense, Momo muttered. We then walked into the styling room. Uwabami told us to sit in the chairs, and people came to assist us. 3 people did our hair, makeup, and styling. Wow. You guys look so appealing, Iwabami said as she brought us to the photo shoot room. Okay, now that you guys are all ready, it's time for the pictures. You will need a headshot, full shot, and half shot, she said, giving us examples of poses. All the poses were for girls, so I had to think of poses that would work for me. Meanwhile, the news reported, Hero Killer has put Ingenium in the hospital. The pro hero is now in the recovery process. All hope he is well. Iwabami's photographer took our picture, and she chose the best one for us. Kendo still seemed quite disappointed that we weren't fighting. Momo was trying to make the best of things. I, on the other hand, was quite enjoying this. I chuckled at the thought that I might be starting a modeling career before a hero career. Why are you laughing? Kendo asked as she approached me. Just a thought that I might start a modeling career before a hero one, I chuckled. I still want to do something more heroic. She crossed her arms. I can teach you a thing or two, I said, and her eyes lit up. Really? You placed second in the sports festival. You're really going to help me, she exclaimed, and I nodded. Yeah, and this also benefits me. I can learn how to multitask better and teach, I explained. Could you also help me, Izuku? I didn't do well at the sports festival, Momo chimed in, and I nodded. Well, I guess we can start later today because Iwabami is busy with setting up a side career for us, I said. When will we start? Momo asked. After lunch, I'll ask Iwabami for a place to train, I replied and walked over to Iwabami. Hey, Iwabami cut me off. Time for social media now, she said. Huh, we all said in confusion. Don't you guys have social media? Like Herogram? Iwabami asked, sitting with her legs crossed. We all shook our heads. I'll create some for you guys. Herogram or any social media is important to be a model and a hero. You can update your fans on what you are doing and engage your audience, she explained. Iwabami made accounts for us and posted some pictures. She then went on her Herogram account and took a picture of us, captioning it, "My lovely interns are here to learn everything I got as a hero and model." She also tagged all of us. After that, she filled us in on some modeling gigs and put herself down as our guardian. So what were you saying? She turned to me. Oh, is there a training area here? I asked. Of course, it's downstairs to the right, she replied. We will pick this up tomorrow to see if you guys got chosen for any of the ones I signed you up for, she said, collecting her things. For now, you guys are free to do whatever you want. I'm guessing you will train, Iwabami said as she walked downstairs, and we followed her. Here is the training room. Enjoy, young heroes. She then went back upstairs. We all changed into our hero outfits. Okay, time for training. First at the sports festival you both did well. Momo, I noticed you didn't get the chance to create anything sturdy, I said, and she nodded. Yes, Tokoyami did a good one on me. He knew I needed time to create things, Momo stated. I didn't really see you a lot, Kendo, I said, and she scratched her head. What's your quirk? My quirk is big fists, which allows me to enlarge my hands and increase my strength, she replied. Interesting. Momo, I think you need to work on multitasking and self-esteem. Multitasking because you need to be able to dodge your opponent and create objects. Kendo, I think you need to work on your speed and technique when using your quirk. Speed is important because I believe using your quirk will slow you down, I explained, and they both agreed. We began to train for a straight hour. Okay, girls, then something popped up next to me. Paimon is hungry. Paimon exclaimed, and I sighed. Where are we? Paimon asked. We are at Iwabami's agency for our internships, I replied, opening my inventory. Here. I handed Paimon her favorite snack. Yummy. Paimon will sit over here and watch. She floated over and sat on the floor. Sorry, she's part of my quirk. Anyway, let's continue, I said. We trained for another 2 hours, and then it was time for dinner. I had already seen a lot of improvement in both girls. Iwabami then came inside our training room. Oh goodness, it smells awful in here, she muttered, turning on the AC. Anyways, it's time for dinner. We followed her out. For dinner, we were served sushi and other delicious dishes. After we ate, we all went to bed, and I decided to turn on the TV to watch the news. Recently in Hosu City, there has been a villain known as the Hero Killer, the news anchor reported. Sounds scary, Kendo said. Yeah, I hope Ida's okay, Momo added. The villain seems to be targeting heroes, but still, if you're a civilian, be careful at night, the anchor warned. Yikes, Kendo muttered. I took off my shirt. Both girls exclaimed. Sorry, I usually go to bed shirtless, I said, quickly slipping my shirt back on. The most recent attack from this villain was Ingenium. Right now, he is in the hospital recovering. We all hope that he will be all right, the anchor continued. Ingenium? Isn't that Ida's brother? Momo asked. You don't think Ida interned in Hosu City to find this villain? I wondered aloud. Maybe. Let's just pray that they are both okay, I said. We all went to sleep after that, and soon it was morning. Yuabami's manager woke us up and told us to get ready. We went downstairs and saw Yuabami preparing for the day. Hello kids. I have some good news, she said while applying her eyeshadow. You will be in a commercial with me. All the things I signed you up for, you've all been cast. So we have a busy day ahead. We all sighed. We got into Yuabami's limo and headed to the TV station for the commercial, which was for a hair product for both boys and girls. Momo tried to find a bright side in this commercial that related to hero work, but Kendo and I thought she was in denial. Okay, this will air in a month. Now let's get going. You guys have a magazine shoot and modeling gigs, Yuabami instructed, and we followed her. Once we arrived at the shoot, Yuabami was greeted by some fans. Momo, Kendo, and I were taken to different rooms for our shoots. Oh wow, you are so appealing. Lady told me and I chuckled. How old are you? She asked. I'm 15, I replied, and she seemed shocked. You look more mature for a 15-year-old. Now let's get you ready for this shoot, she said, starting to apply makeup on me. The lady then gave me an outfit to wear and led me to another room filled with lighting and a few people. I spotted Yuabami talking to some of the crew, and she noticed me. Oh, there you are. I was wondering what took so long. Momo and Kendo have already finished the first shot, Yuabami said, directing me to the white backdrop. After an hour, we all finished our shoots, and I was hungry. I decided to open my inventory and eat some food. Do you guys want anything? I asked Momo and Kendo. Sure, they both replied. I took out some stick honey roast and shared it with them. Yuabami then approached us. Okay kids, where did you get that? She asked. My quirk, I said. Anyways, here are your pictures. She handed us papers with our photos. I looked at mine and was pleasantly surprised. Wow, my modeling skills are impressive. I chuckled to myself. Then I saw the last one and remembered how awkward it was for me to pose. I started to cringe and covered the picture. This will all be in magazines and other things after your internship. I believe I chose the best ones, Yuabami said, and we all nodded. We got back into the limo, and Yuabami sat in the front seat while we settled in the back. How were your pictures? Kendo asked. It was interesting and awkward, I replied, and both looked confused. Awkward, they asked in unison. Never mind, you'll see maybe. I hope not, I said, and they chuckled. Don't forget to post your photo shoot on your Herogram, Yuabami reminded us as we took out our phones. Do we post every single one? I asked. Nope, especially if it's a rare one, she replied. I posted the first couple of photos and looked out of the car window to see that it was already night. Okay, time to go on patrol, Yuabami said, and our eyes lit up. Just a couple of minutes later, Yuabami was surrounded by adoring fans, and we all let out a sigh of disappointment. Then I received a message from Todoroki. The hero killer was in Hosu City and had almost killed Ida. He needed backup. Yuabami, the hero killer is in Hosu City and almost killed one of our friends. We need to go, I said urgently. HM? Hero killer? We need to hurry, Yuabami responded, waving goodbye to her fans. We boarded a train to Hosu City, and Yuabami quickly pulled us away from a certain spot just as a Nomu landed there. Be careful, kids, she warned as people screamed around us. My quirk gives me an acute sense of danger, but it's not helpful in battles. I'm going to try to rescue the people here, and I trust you to handle this big guy, she said, and we nodded. My phone rang and I picked it up. Izuku, please come to X666. The hero killer is here, like. Todoroki was cut off. Izuku, Momo, I need to go help Todoroki. I said to her, and she nodded. Kendo and I will handle this. Momo replied. I jumped out of the train and landed on a rock. Paimon, how long will it take for me to get to Hosu City? I asked, hopping from rock to rock. About 10 minutes at your current speed, Paimon answered. Okay, I hope Todoroki can stall a little longer, I muttered. Todoroki POV, Ack. The hero killer stabbed me and was about to lick his blade. I dropped my phone and tried to knock the blade out of his hands. We were engaged in hand-to-hand combat, which I wasn't very good at. I used my quirk to freeze him, but he dodged it. I rushed over to prevent him from liking the blade, knowing that doing so might paralyze me. Todoroki, this isn't your fight. Ida shouted as I struggled against the hero killer. I ignored him and kicked the hero killer in the stomach, making him stumble back. Does it look like you can fight right now? I retorted, and Ida fell silent. I needed to send my location to the pro heroes. I ran to grab my phone, but suddenly I couldn't move. I had almost forgotten about him. I heard the hero killer chuckle lightly. I was so close to my phone. Footsteps approached, and I saw a shadow in the moonlight. The blade hovered over me, and I could see the hero killer's smile. I tried to move, but it felt like everything was in slow motion. Then I heard a gust of wind. Todoroki-kun. I heard Izuku scream. Izuku POV, guiding the path of the wind currents, I summoned a forward-moving tornado that pulled objects and opponents towards itself, dealing damage. It SCK'd the hero killer in and moved him away from Todoroki. I switched to my bow and performed a precise aimed shot with increased damage. I shot a flaming arrow at the tornado with the hero killer trapped inside. Todoroki! I yelled as I ran over. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm guessing the hero killer's quirk has something to do with paralyzing and blood, Todoroki stated, and I nodded. I turned to see Ida. Ida? What happened? I rushed over, but he remained quiet. Suddenly, I noticed a shadow behind me. The hero killer swung his blade down at me, but I dodged it. HM? You dodged me? He said. I ran up to him, and we engaged in a blade battle. I seized the opportunity to use an elemental skill. I performed twin strikes with my sword, dealing damage and creating rain swords that orbited around me. Water? What will this do? He asked. Let me show you, I replied, switching to my claymore. I swung the Thunderwolf Claw, dealing damage to the hero killer. The hit sent a wave of shock throughout his body. While he was momentarily stunned, I rushed over to Todoroki and Ida to heal them. I tossed out a special cold brew that created a mist to heal them for as long as it stayed. What did you just do, Izuku? Ida asked. This is one of my moves. It will heal you guys, but only for some time, I respond, turning to the hero killer, who was finally coming out of shock. I switched to my sword. Geo-elemental skill, Starfall Sword. I summoned a meteorite from the depths of the earth, dealing area of effect geo damage. The meteorite, considered a geo-construct, could be climbed or used to block attacks. I climbed it and switched to my catalyst. Pyro-elemental burst, sparks, and splash, Izuku's blazing delight. I shouted. For 10 seconds, I summoned 5 bursts of sparks and splash to attack nearby opponents, dealing area of effect pyro damage. It felt like cannonballs hitting the hero killer repeatedly. I then jumped off and changed my stance to polearm. He was already pretty burnt, but still standing. Pyro-elemental burst, soothing spirit. I let out a slight giggle as I commanded a blazing spirit to deal pyro damage in a large area. Upon striking the enemy, it regenerated a percentage of my max HP, triggered up to 5 times based on the number of enemies hit. The spirit hit the hero killer, knocking him out. I turned to look at Todoroki and Ida, relieved to see they were no longer paralyzed. Are you guys okay? I asked. Yeah, they both replied. We heard footsteps approaching and got into a battle stance, only to see it was Endeavor, along with Iwabumi, Momo, and Kendo. Izuku, are you okay? Momo asked, and I nodded, but then everything started to fade to black. To be continued. Izuku POV. I opened my eyes to see a white ceiling. I sat up, wincing at the pain in my body. Looking around, I saw Todoroki and Ida awake. Izuku, are you okay? Todoroki asked. I nodded. I'm sorry for bringing you guys into this situation, Ida said. It's okay. We got to experience actual hero work. I exclaimed. And they both looked confused. What are you talking about, Izuku? The whole point of this internship is to do hero work. Haven't you done any during your time with Iwabami? Todoroki asked. I guess not. I interned with Iwabami and Momo, but we mostly did modeling. I did learn a few things, like how to answer questions properly and multitask with big responsibilities. I responded. They both nodded in understanding. Then the door opened. Ah, I see you guys are awake, Iwabami said as she entered. The girls were really worried about you. She looked at me, and then the Hosu City Chief of Police came in, informing us that the hero killer had been arrested. He mentioned that Endeavor would be credited with defeating him. I understood the reasoning but felt uneasy about the dishonesty. I brushed it off as the chief left. The doctor said you just overused your quirk and that you can leave, Iwabami told me. What about you, Iwabami? How did you guys do? I asked. Well, at the train, I successfully guided and protected the people. Momo and Kendo distracted the large creature, but Kendo got hit. Her injuries aren't as bad as I thought, though, so she is okay, Iwabami explained. After that day, I was discharged from the hospital. Momo, Kendo, and I walked around Hosu City and decided to visit the mall. Let's go shopping for some clothes, Kendo said, dragging Momo along. I opted to head to the food court by myself. Hello, what would you like? The worker asked. A burger with fries and a milkshake, I replied. After placing my order, I sat down to eat. Pulling out my phone, I checked Herogram. Wow, 1,000 followers already? That was fast. I browsed the comments on one of my posts. OMG. He is so hot and cute at the same time. I wish I was you, dude. You're going to UA? Wow. Did you guys see his exclusive picture in a magazine? What is it? It's a secret, but I'll say he is hot. I chuckled at the comments, then heard camera clicks. Looking up, I saw some girls with their phones out. I waved to them and they squealed. I finished my meal and threw away my plate, spotting Momo and Kendo walking into the food court. I waved to them. Oh, Izuku, we thought you were lost. Momo exclaimed. Yeah, Kendo added. No, I was just in the food court eating, I explained. The next day, everyone was back at UA. I opened the door and spotted Kaken's hair, quickly taking a picture. I walked to my seat and prepared for hero training. All Might announced that we would be doing a rescue training race. First up were Siro, Mina, Ida, Ojiro, and me. Third POV. Wow, this team has a lot of mobility, Kirishima commented. I feel like Izuku might be at a disadvantage because his quirk is more combat-oriented, Momo stated. We won't know until we see it in action, Jiro replied. Yeah, the dude always has some tricks up his sleeve, Kaminari added. He'll probably find a way around this, Uraraka said. As Uraraka spoke, everyone on the field began to run. Izuku POV. I was contemplating my strategy, knowing I wasn't particularly good with mobility. I could summon a gust of wind and use my wind glider, but that felt too predictable. Then it hit me what I could do. Oh, Siro it first. Kaminari shouted as everyone watched the screen. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Oh, is an earthquake happening? People screamed. Then a familiar voice echoed from the screen. I don't know if this is cheating, but I gotta do what I gotta do, Izuku smirked. Planet befall, he shouted. Izuku summoned a falling meteor, dealing massive geo damage to opponents caught in its area of effect and applying the petrification status to others. Whoa! Kaminari exclaimed. Is that cheating? Momo wondered. An agile and elegant style of Kamisato art enveloped Izuku as he moved. He soon reached All Might. Hey, All Might, was that cheating? Izuku asked. I mean, I didn't explain the rules, so I guess not, All Might replied. Everyone was stunned when Izuku reached All Might. This might be the thing Izuku had, Todoroki muttered. So he did have a trick up his sleeve. Kaminari said. Interesting, he's like an overpowered player in a game, Kirishima added. After training, we returned to our classroom. Izuku, what you did was so impressive, Kirishima said, approaching me. Thanks. I replied. You're so overpowered. Kaminari shouted. I think Kakin is stronger than me, I said. Demon right I am, he replied confidently. Aizawa then entered the classroom and announced that we had a little field trip. Everyone cheered. But this is a training camp and a grade, he added, and everyone fell silent. We will leave tomorrow morning. Don't be late, he instructed before rolling himself into his sleeping bag. The room buzzed with conversation. Everyone was outside the bus waiting for our teacher when a group from Class 1B walked by. Hello, Izuku. Kendo greeted me. Oh, hello, I responded. The extra training you taught at the internship really helped, she exclaimed, thanking me. No problem, I replied, slipping my backpack on. Oh yes. I wanted to ask you something, she said, taking out her phone. Can I get your number? I was stunned. Sure, I said, and she handed me her phone. Also, what's your herogram? Let's follow each other, she suggested. I nodded and shared my username. We followed each other and she exclaimed, Wow, Izuku! You already have a ton of followers. Oh, I need to go on the bus. See you there. Izuku, I didn't know you knew a girl from 1B, Kaminari remarked. Yeah, and she even asked for your number. Lucky, Mineta added, crossing his arms. How do you guys know each other? Kaminari asked. Oh, we interned under the same company, I explained, and they nodded. Suddenly, Mina shrieked, running up to me with a magazine. Izuku, I didn't know you. Modeled, she whispered the last part, showing me a picture that made me flustered. How did you get that? I asked. I always keep up with my magazines and hot boys, she snickered. Ida then called for everyone to get on the bus and find their seats. Mina, what were you shouting about? Uraraka asked. Hee, I'll show you, Mina whispered, pulling out the magazine. Wait, let me find the page, she whined. Oh, here, she exclaimed, showing it to Uraraka. Uraraka shouted, covering her face. Mina giggled, and Hagakure jumped up to see. Oh, that's Izuku, Hagakure said, and Mina nodded. After 2 hours on the bus, we finally arrived. The wild pussycats introduced themselves and explained that we needed to go through a forest to reach the camp. As everyone tried to get back on the bus, one of the pussycats reshaped the floor, causing us to fall. We then engaged in a battle against the beasts. Most people grouped together, but I didn't want to fight just yet. Izuku, what are you doing? Paimon appeared. I don't want to fight, so I'm avoiding the beasts, I replied. Paimon is hungry, she said. I opened my inventory just as the ground shook, and a beast appeared before me. Paimon vanished, and I summoned my claymore. My weapon ignited with flames as I executed multiple forward slashes against the beasts. Once they were defeated, I sighed and put my claymore away. Good job, Izuku. Now Paimon is really hungry, she said, rolling her eyes. After hours of walking, we finally reached the end of the forest. Good job. You all made it. Faster than I expected, Pixie Bob exclaimed. Everyone emerged from the forest tired, but I felt fine since I had glided part of the way. You all did great. Especially you three, she pointed at Todoroki, Ida, and Bakugo. You were able to act fast with your experience, she said, launching herself toward them. Then she turned to me. And you, she said, walking over. I felt nervous. You were lazy on this, weren't you? You just flew over here, she exclaimed, and I nodded. To be fair, you didn't specify how to get here. I just used my brain, I replied, and she calmed down a little. I'll let you off the hook for that one because you brought Koda's faith in heroes again, she said, leaving everyone confused. Koda is my cousin, she added, and I looked over. Aizawa then suggested we relax for the rest of the day since the real training starts tomorrow. We all ate together, and someone tapped my back. I turned around to see Koda. "Oh hey Koda," I said. "Hey," he replied. "Do you need anything?" I asked him with a smile. "I have a question. Did you think Eri can come over to my house sometime?" he asked. I'm not sure," I said, noticing his sad expression. Just kidding. She can come anytime. You and she must be very good friends," I said, and his face lit up. "But if you want her to come over, Mandalay will have to pick her up from my house. I will also need her phone number so we can arrange this," I told him, and he nodded. After we all went to sleep and woke up the next day, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Today was the day the real training began. Aizawa explained that our goal was to become stronger and more capable of earning our licenses. He handed Kaken a ball to throw, and we all expected a high score, but it turned out to be only a slight improvement. I struggled to hold back my laughter. Aizawa then pointed out that our quirks hadn't improved much, except for Izuku, he added, and I smiled. Throughout his months of training, he has shown significant improvement in using his quirk. He also seems to have developed various moves and strategies. However, he will still undergo the same training as the rest of you, Aizawa said, and everyone looked apprehensive. After assigning tasks to everyone, it was my turn. "Okay, Izuku. It seems you've improved a lot and done some unpredictable things with your quirk. Before I assign your training, I need you to explain the details of your quirk," he said. "My quirk is called RPG, which is based on a video game genre, specifically a game called Genshin Impact. My perspective during battles is like a video game. I have stats, skills, a menu screen, and more," I explained, and he pinched the bridge of his nose. "I don't understand any of this," he muttered. "Tell me how you got all of these moves and elemental abilities," Aizawa sighed. "In Genshin Impact, you fight using different elements, each with unique names. As I level up or grow stronger, I can unlock new elements. I've unlocked all the elements related to my quirk and instead a few," I told him, but he still looked puzzled. "Well, how do you level up or get stronger?" he asked. "By playing video games and training my body," I replied. "We don't have any gaming equipment," he muttered. "Fighting against opponents with unknown quirks helps me too," I added, and Aizawa suddenly seemed to have an idea. I heard footsteps approaching, and it was the Class 1B students. "You'll fight them," Aizawa pointed out. "Did he say what I thought he said?" Best surprised. "You're going to fight them," Aizawa confirmed, dragging me over. He greeted Vlad King and requested a fight. Vlad King, though surprised, agreed, and the match began. I sighed. "Why do I have to do this?" I muttered, glancing at Aizawa and Vlad King. "Oh, it's Class 1B, Mina said. "Are they picking a fight with Izuku?" Jiro asked. "It seems like this is the training Aizawa assigned to him," Shinso noted. "Wait, he's going to fight all of them?" Mina exclaimed, and Shinso nodded. I managed to defeat the smaller opponents, leaving only 5 left. Monoma was a concern. I couldn't let him touch me. Hananuki was tricky. I had to avoid his reach. Tokage was strong and clever, while Shizaki was being very observant, possibly trying to evade me. Then there was Kendo, who had clearly grown stronger since our last training session. The best chance I had to eliminate someone was to go straight for Shiozaki. I charged at her, and she noticed immediately. Shiozaki sent her hair vines to create a shield, just as I hoped. I summoned my sword. Pyro Elemental Skill ATK. Passion Overload. I unleashed 3 consecutive attacks that dealt impressive pyro damage, but the final attack triggered an explosion that launched both Shiozaki and me. I landed without injury, but she was knocked out. I sighed, feeling my feet sink into the ground. Looking down, I realized Hananuki was using his quirk on the floor, making it feel like quicksand. I turned to see the other 3 charging at me, and I needed to think quickly. I switched to my catalyst. Pyro Elemental Normal ATK. Kaboom! I threw explosive projectiles that detonated on impact. Perform up to 3 explosive attacks, dealing LE Pyro DMG. It landed right on the floor and exploded, launching me from the blast. I landed on my feet behind them and felt something crawl up on me. I looked on my shoulder and saw a hand. I flicked it off and looked up to see Tokage, who called back her hand. Kendo then came at me and I jumped back. I turned to see Monoma, who was so close to touching me. I jumped into the air and pulled out my wing glider, landing on a rock. The next person I should knock out was either Monoma or Hananuki. I smirked. The 1A student is getting cocky? Just because you defeated some of us doesn't mean we lose. Monoma shouted, laughing absurdly. I took this as my chance and used my sword. Electro-elemental skill. Stellar Restoration hurls a lightning stiletto that annihilates my opponents like swift thunder. When the stiletto hits its target, it deals Electro DMG to opponents in a small AoE and places a stiletto mark on the spot hit. I hit Monoma with it and he fell silent. What did you do? He shouted. I saw Kendo stretching her arms out to me, and my rock was sinking because of Hananuki. I used the stiletto again and teleported in front of Monoma, hitting him with my electro-charged sword. He then fell and got knocked out. I turned around to see their shocked faces and let out a little chuckle. Wow, Izuku is actually winning, Momo stated. He's strong, Shinso said. So manly, Kirishima added. I switched to my catalyst before anyone could move. Player unlocked elemental bursts, a Nemo elemental burst. Forbidden creation, I hurled an unstable concoction that created a large wind spirit. While it persisted, the large wind spirit continuously pulled and launched them, dealing a Nemo DMG. I then used an elemental skill. Hydro elemental skill ATK. Let the show begin. Summons water droplets resembling musical notes that form a melody loop, dealing Hydro DMG to surrounding opponents and afflicting them with the wet status. I ran up to the large wind spirit to get them wet. After that, I changed to my claymore. Cryo elemental skill ATK. Spirit blade. Chunhwa's layered frost. I struck the ground with my greatsword, causing a cryo explosion in a circular AoE that dealt cryo DMG. My claymore was covered in frost, freezing my opponents. My wind spirit then disappeared. I held my claymore high and slashed at Kendo and Hananuki. The ice broke, and they were both dizzy before passing out. Now it was only me and Tokage. She was unfrozen and tried to stay balanced. I checked my stats, they were low. I changed to my polearm. Geo elemental skill, Dominus Lapis. Every mountain, rock, and inch of land is filled with the power of Geo, but those who can wield such powers freely are few and far between. I smirked, and she looked confused. I commanded the power of the earth to solidify into a stone steel, dealing Geo DMG at creation. The steel would resonate with nearby Geo constructs, dealing Geo DMG to surrounding opponents. Tokage seemed confused about what was happening, yet she felt a slight pain now and then. I climbed up my Geo pillar and stood on top. She broke off into pieces, and I couldn't see where the rest of her body went. I turned around and saw she was out of the area where she could be damaged by my pillar. Joke's on her though, I could still get her. I noticed the wet status was still on her whole body. I changed to my bow. Electro elemental burst. Midnight Phantasmagoria. I took on the form of a raven for a short duration, flying to Tokage and passing through her, giving her an electro charge because of the hydro I used earlier. Then, switching to my sword, I used another elemental burst. Cryo elemental burst. Adeptus art. Preserver of fortune. Using the Ice Vein talisman, I brought forth the Herald of Frost, dealing cryo dim to her. The Herald of Frost would deal damage multiple times over its duration and also heal me. Using this stopped the electro charge but froze Tokage. I then simply used the handle of my sword to hit her neck, breaking the ice and knocking her out. It. Vlad King choked out. Aizawa mumbled. Seems like I need to put my students under harder training, Vlad King said. Izuku POV. We all finished training and headed to dinner. When we arrived, they told us we had to make our own meals. I honestly didn't want to do that. Everyone got into groups to prepare food. Todoroki used his fire to light his group's furnace, while Kaken accidentally blew his up. Izuku, could you light it? Hagakure asked, and I summoned my polearm. Wi the weapon? She exclaimed. It's the only way for me to use fire, I explained. Summoning Guaba the panda, I watched as he began breathing fire at an opponent, dealing area damage every 1.5 seconds. "Oh, so cute!" Mina exclaimed, moving closer. "Don't get too close, Mina. He might blow fire in your face," I warned, and she stepped back. After enjoying a delicious curry together, Kaminari and Kirishima chimed in. "So good." Meanwhile, Paimon complained, "Paimon doesn't like this." I opened my inventory and handed her some fisherman toast. Thanks," she said, happily munching on it. Noticing Koda had run off without eating, I decided to follow him. I found him sitting in a cave. "Hey." "Who?" "Oh, it's you," he said, looking up. "Why didn't you eat?" I asked, sitting beside him. "Not hungry," he replied. "So, I restored your faith in heroes?" I smirked. "Tisish," he responded. "You remind me of Kaken, or should I say Bakugo Katsuki," I chuckled. Just then, a rumble came from Koda's stomach, revealing his hunger. I opened my inventory and handed him some golden fried chicken. "Thanks," he said, devouring it. "Wow, this is really good. Mind explaining why you used to have zero faith in heroes?" I inquired. He nodded. "Heroes were dumb. My parents died from a villain. It's so stupid to call them hero and villain when they just kill each other to show off their powers. But when Eri told me about you and what you did, I thought you were cool. You're the only exception." I chuckled. "Also, sorry for what happened to your mom." He looked stunned. "Oh, Eri must have told you." "It's okay, she made me who I am today," I smiled. "We should get back. The others might be looking for us." The next day, everyone began their training. Izuku fought against Class 1B and, despite a tough battle, emerged victorious. After lunch, the wild pussycats explained the concept of special training when suddenly, the villains appeared. "Huh!" I shouted, searching for Koda. "We are the vanguard team of the League of Villains," a lizard-like figure announced, grinning at me. "Found him," it whispered before charging at me, but Tiger intervened. I dashed off to find Koda. Jumping from tree to tree, I finally reached his hideout and saw a shadowy figure about to punch him. I summoned protective stone armor to shield myself and Koda. The villain broke through my defense, and I felt a sharp pain in my back. "Ack!" I cried out, rolling on the floor with Koda in my arms. The villain, towering over us, had one mechanical eye. "Oh, you're the one we are after," he said, and I instinctively guarded Koda. "You're the one we need. I was told not to kill you, but they didn't say anything about not injuring you," he threatened, rushing toward me. I barely managed to block his punch, but the impact sent me flying against the wall. "Ack!" I shouted, feeling the sting of pain. "Come on. I saw you fight better at the sports festival," he taunted, charging at me again. I dodged, feeling a bruise forming on my arm but relieved it wasn't broken. I summoned my bow, aiming carefully. I unleashed an arrow infused with hydro energy, hitting him squarely. "Water?" he grunted, charging at me again. I transformed my weapon into a sword, ready to counter. As he approached, I used a cryo-elemental skill, unleashing a frigid blast that froze him in place. With little time to spare, I grabbed Koda. "Koda, are you okay?" I asked. He nodded, though hesitantly. "I need you to go back to the camp fast," I instructed. He ran off just as Muscular broke free from the ice. I turned to face him, ready for the next confrontation. When he punched me with incredible speed, I flew back and hit the wall. I coughed and fell to the floor, but quickly landed on my feet and saw him charging at me again. I summoned my catalyst and stood up. Electro-elemental burst. Lightning Rose summoned a lightning rose that unleashed powerful lightning bolts, launching surrounding opponents and dealing electro damage. The lightning rose continuously emitted lightning, knocking back opponents and dealing damage over time. It also created a lightning bolt that jumped to a nearby wet target. "Ack!" he screamed, caught in electroshock. I knew I had to knock him out while keeping my distance from the lake. Pyro-elemental skill. Jumpy Dumpty bounced thrice, igniting and dealing area of effect pyro damage with each bounce. On the third bounce, it split into 8 mines that exploded upon contact. Muscular stepped on some of the mines, launching him back but not far enough to escape the lightning lake. I needed to finish this. The lightning lake disappeared, and he was still standing. I switched to my claymore and charged at him. Pyro, elemental burst. Dawn released intense flames that knocked nearby opponents back, dealing pyro damage. The flames converged into my weapon, summoning a phoenix that flew forward, dealing massive damage to all opponents in its path. The phoenix exploded upon reaching its destination, causing significant area of effect damage. With that, Muscular was knocked down. I let out a sigh, breathing. This was the most I had been hit in a battle, and the pain intensified with every movement. I tried to walk back to camp, but each step sent sharp pain through my body. This feels like hell, I muttered, pushing on. Soon, I found myself in the middle of the forest. Ugh, where am I? I looked around, feeling hungry. I opened my inventory and got some food to heal myself. Paimon. Would like some too. Paimon popped out, almost startling me. You scared me, I said, and she scratched the back of her head. As I took a couple of bites, I heard something and looked up. Suddenly, a dark shadow came at me, and I felt electroshock. I closed my eyes and heard a loud bang. When I opened them, I was on Shoji's back. Shoji? What happened? I asked as he set me down. Dark shadow, he explained, and we watched as Tokoyami was swallowed by it. Tokoyami-kun, I whispered as it charged at us. Run, Izuku! Shoji shouted, and we both ran. What do we do? I asked. The only thing that will calm Dark Shadow is light. We need to find Todoroki and Bakugo, he suggested. I smirked. Hey, don't forget I have some light flashy power, I told him. Let's get to Kaken and Todoroki-kun first, I said, and he nodded. We ran and finally met them. I saw a huge block of ice and another villain. Tokoyami is out of control, use your quirks. Shoji shouted at Kaken and Todoroki. Dark Shadow threw the villain out of consciousness. I summoned my polearm and charged at Dark Shadow, along with Kaken and Todoroki. Pyro, elemental burst. Spirit Soother commanded a blazing spirit to deal pyro damage in a large area. Upon striking the enemy, it regenerated a percentage of my max HP, triggered up to 5 times based on the number of enemies hit. We hit Dark Shadow together and calmed it down. Sorry, thank you for saving me, Tokoyami said, and I patted his back. It's okay. I smiled at him as he looked down. Why do you think the villains are here? Todoroki asked. Oh, I remember when I fought Muscular he said I was the one they wanted, and before that one of them said they found you. I realized they were after me. So they're after you? Todoroki asked. No kidding, half and half, Kaken replied. I think we should head back through camp by cutting through the forest, I suggested, and everyone agreed. We ran back and saw Uraraka, Sue, and another unknown person. I'm glad you guys are okay, I said, and they nodded. What's happening? Why are the villains here? Uraraka asked. They're after Izuku, Todoroki said. Deku? Uraraka exclaimed. Why? Sue asked. We don't know, Shoji responded. Let's Jew. Before Todoroki could finish, everything went black for me. Todoroki POV. Before I could finish, Izuku was gone. I turned around and saw a villain. We'll take him to a stage where he can shine even more, it said. Give Deku back to us. Bakugo shouted. HM? Izuku doesn't belong to anyone, the masked villain replied. Teach, Bakugo grunted, explosions erupting from his hands. Give him back, he shouted again, launching himself at the villain. The villain dodged and flew up, evading us. It landed on a tree and began a big speech, but I couldn't focus on that. We need Izuku back. Wait, Tokoyami-kun is gone too? Shoji shouted as I looked around. Todoroki's POV. The masked villain flew away, and we ran trying to catch up to him, but it was hopeless. So many questions ran through my head about why they wanted to kidnap Izuku. They should have chosen Bakugo. I let out a sigh and looked up. The villain wasn't there. My eyes widened as I thought of something. Sue, could you launch us up in the air, that direction? Also, Uraraka, could you make us weightless? I asked, and they both nodded. Uraraka used her quirk to make us weightless, and Tsu wrapped her tongue around us. She then swung us around and threw us into the air. But what the hell, half and half? How are we going to land? Bakugo shouted at me. I looked down and saw that we were over the villain. We'll land on the villain, I said, and that's what we did. We all landed on the villain and saw that there were other villains here too. Mister, get out of the way, one of the villains said, his face marked with burn scars. His hand was covered in blue flames, which he sent our way. Thankfully we dodged them, but I got a little burnt. Third POV. Todoroki was being targeted by Twice. He used his ice to try to freeze Twice but failed. Twice would always cut through the ice or burst through it. The only person able to do that was Izuku. While they were fighting, Mr. Compress appeared, stunned that they were still chasing after him. He walked over to Dabi. Where's Izuku? Dabi asked, and Mr. Compress checked his pockets. He muttered, realizing they were empty. Bakugo, Todoroki. Let's get going, Shoji said, showing the orbs that had Izuku and Tokoyami in them. It didn't take you that long. Especially since you have 6 arms. Mr. Compress shouted as the 3 of us started to run. Todoroki made an ice shield, and Dabi was about to melt it down when Mr. Compress signaled him not to. As we ran, we encountered a Nomu. We took a turn, and a warp gate appeared in front of us. Todoroki's POV. This was the warp gate from USJ. It's been 5 minutes since the signal, it said. I saw the villains leaving. We still didn't complete. The burnt villain was cut off by the masked villain. Oh, that? They seemed so happy that they left in a rush, he said, and we were confused about what he meant. So I thought to leave a present, he continued, turning around. Wait, it's fake? It's just a basic magic trick, he said, pulling his mask down to reveal the real orbs that trapped Izuku and Tokoyami. What? No way! I shouted. Bakugo muttered, looking extremely angry. He then started a speech, and before I knew it, Bakugo burst toward the villain. Shoji and I followed. The villain was heading into the warp gate when a beam of light struck him, hitting the villain. It was Oyama. He'd been hiding in the bushes. The masked villain choked, and the orbs spilled out of his mouth. We all rushed to grab them. I was too late, and the burnt villain snatched one before I could. That's sad, Todoroki Shoto, he said as I landed on the ground. I turned to see if Shoji had Tokoyami, and luckily he did. I turned around to see Izuku being held by the neck and Isigi into the warp gate. I tried to run to him. Izuku! I shouted. Izuku smiled and said, Don't worry, I'll be fine, but I reached out to him, and he disappeared. I failed. I failed to protect my classmates. How can I be a hero if I can't even protect one person? I turned to see Bakugo on the verge of tears, which I thought I would never see in my life. He then shouted, and Shoji looked at Bakugo in disbelief. Tokoyami was shocked by what had just happened. I looked down, ashamed of myself. Izuku protected me when the hero killer came, and I couldn't even do the same for him. What kind of friend am I? We all walked back with our heads down. Oh my god, guys! You're back! And not that injured! Kirishima exclaimed. Where's Izuku? Shinso came to us, shaking me. I couldn't meet his gaze. I knew he and Izuku were best friends. I'm sorry, I said, looking at him. His eyes lost hope. What do you mean? He asked. I didn't respond. What do you mean? He shouted, and Kaminari stepped in to stop him. Shinso. I'm sure he's fine. Right, Todoroki? Kaminari looked at me and I looked down. But I'm sorry, he was taken by the League of Villains, I said, and everyone just stared at Shoji, Bakugo, and me. Why, you're joking, right? Kaminari asked, stepping closer. I was about to say something when Bakugo spoke up. Izuku was kidnapped, he said, and people were shocked that he used Izuku instead of Deku. Then Aizawa, the wild pussycats, and some medics arrived. The medics healed our wounds and conducted checkups. I also saw Muscular being captured and stuffed into a truck. I didn't know he was there. I went to ask Aizawa something. Aizawa, where did that villain come from? I asked him. That's weird. You aren't the type to ask questions, he pointed out, and I nodded. Well, That's the villain muscular. He was up on a hill near a cave, Aizawa told me, and I was about to walk away. Izuku defeated him, Aizawa then said, and my eyes widened. How? I asked and he shrugged. I'm not sure. All I know is that he was protecting someone, Aizawa told me, and I wondered who it was. I saw him look to the side towards the child. I believe his name was Koda. He was crying a little bit. It then made sense. Izuku saved him. I walked over to Koda and crouched down to his level. Hey, are you okay? I asked him and he looked up. He seemed to be like Bakugo. What's it to you? He asked, wiping his tears away. I smiled slightly. It's okay, you don't have to tell me, I told him and he looked down. That he's gone, and I didn't even get to thank him, Koda said quietly, beginning to tear up. I then felt bad. Don't worry. We'll get him back. I reassured him and I saw him smile. You better, he then said and I smiled back. We got back to UA, and the teachers held a meeting. All over the news, the kidnapping of Izuku was spreading everywhere. I was still wondering why they took Izuku. Like why him? I understood he was strong, but he wasn't going to turn into a villain. Or maybe they wanted to kill him and lure All Might there. That might be it. I opened my eyes and looked around. I saw villains surrounding me. Then I remembered that I got kidnapped. The TV turned on, showing newsreels. All of them were about me getting kidnapped. I'm really appreciating all the publicity that we've been getting, Shigaraki said, turning to me. Don't you agree, Midoriya Izuku? When he said my full name, I felt chills down my spine. How? I stuttered. It had been a day since Izuku was kidnapped. I entered our class and saw a little girl who seemed to have been crying a lot. Hey, I went to her, she looked scared. Where's Dad? Is he okay? She asked me. That? Oh, so this is Izuku's daughter. It's okay, calm down, I told her, patting her back. She calmed down. Izuku, is your dad all right? I asked, and she nodded. Yeah, this morning I was at Tsu-chan's house, and Dad was supposed to pick me up today. Then Tsu came home, and I went up to her and asked where Dad was. She looked really sad, then she told me that Dad got kidnapped. You're going to save him, right? She jumped and asked me, and I nodded. Eri, right? I asked, and she nodded. Why are you here? I asked. Instead of Dad picking me up, Aizawa picked me up and he's babysitting me, she said. Well, where is he? I asked and I felt someone behind me. I've been here the whole time. Now what are you doing here? Aizawa said and I turned around. Oh, Aizawa. Hello, I said bowing. Yes, hello. Now tell me what you are doing here, he asked. Oh, I just wanted to know if you have a plan to save Izuku. So do you have a plan? I asked and he shook his head. No, we don't have a plan, Aizawa said, and my eyes widened. What do you mean? We need to save him. I raised my voice and Aizawa raised his eyebrows. This is a very unexpected reaction from you, Todoroki, he said, and I felt anger rise in me. But you need to understand that we can't just rush into action without a plan. Leave this mission to the pro-heroes, he said, picking up Eri. Come on, problem child. Let's go get you some lunch. Aizawa then walked out of the classroom. I clenched my fists and followed him out. I decided to go to the hospital because it was visiting hours. I walked in and saw most of our classmates. Hey, Todoroki! Uraraka shouted and I nodded. Hello, Todoroki. Kirishima and Kaminari said, and I nodded again. I went to ask Aizawa about a plan and what they are going to do. I told them, and all ears were on me. What did he say? Shinso came up, still glaring at me. That he said that they don't have a plan and we aren't included in what happens. He also said that they can't rush into action and need a solid plan, I said, and everyone looked sad. So, what's going to happen to Izuku? Jiro asked. I'm not sure. I'm guessing it might take a couple of days or weeks until they come up with a plan. Also, since it's the UV, it might take longer, I told her. How is Momo? I asked. She's okay, but she did something superheroic. Mina shouted. She put a tracker on one of the villains and gave a device to All Might, so maybe they will be able to save Izuku faster, she said, and I felt relief but also disappointment in myself. Momo did something to help Izuku, but I hadn't done anything. Teach, I heard Bakugo. Why do we have to wait around? He shouted. I could see that Bakugo was angry that he had to sit still. Hey guys, let's go see Hagakure. Uraraka suggested, and most people agreed. They all left, leaving Kirishima, Bakugo, Shinso, and me. Hey, Todoroki, Bakugo, and Shinso, Kirishima spoke up. I know you guys are very frustrated about this situation. He continued, I talked to Momo yesterday about going to save Izuku. Since you guys are friends with him, I wanted to invite you to join me. I'll be waiting in front of the hospital tonight. With that, Kirishima walked out of the hospital. Teach, Bakugo let out. Are you guys going? I asked. Yeah, he's my best friend. Why wouldn't I want to save him? Shinso said, putting his hands in his pockets. Of course, I'm going to save that nerd. Bakugo shouted. What about you? Shinso asked me. I'm going, I replied, and we all walked out of the hospital. I headed home, knowing my dad wouldn't be back because he had a mission. I went upstairs to my room and changed into some training clothes. After greeting my sister, I went down to the training room. Shoto? Why are you going down to the training room? Dad's not home, you don't have to train, Fuyumi told me. I know, but I want to, I said, and she seemed surprised. Okay, she said, leaving me alone. Bakugo's POV. Teach, that nerd gets kidnapped, and now I need to go save him. Old hag. I'm home. I shouted. Hey, don't call me that. Come to the kitchen, she shouted back, and I stomped over there. What? I shouted at her. I saw your classmate, or should I say Midoriya Izuku, on TV saying that he got kidnapped. Mom told me and my eyes widened. So tell me, brat. He's alive? She asked and I nodded. Why didn't you tell me? She asked again. Thought he didn't want me to. Not yet at least. He told me that one day he'll tell everyone, I replied and she nodded. Also, I'm going out tonight, I said and she raised her eyebrows. As I made my way to the stairs, she called out, Going out? At night? What are you doing, brat? Saving Deku, I told her, then went upstairs. Shinso's POV. I walked back to UA and saw my dad holding Eri in his lap while sleeping. Eri was doing my dad's hair, which was a bit odd. Hello, I said quietly, but Eri heard me. Shinso. Shinso, she squealed, hugging me. Hey, Eri, I patted her on the head. You're finally done, let's go, Dad said, and we walked back home. Eri was with us, full of energy just like Papa. We introduced her to Papa, also known as President Mike. They hit it off really well. I then went into the kitchen where Dad was. Hello, Hitoshi. How are you feeling? He asked me. I'm okay, I replied. Hitoshi, I know you are sad about Izuku, he said, and I nodded. If it makes you feel better, the pro. Heroes are going out tonight to get him back, Dad added, and I looked up. To be continued. Izuku's POV. How did you know my name? I shouted. It's pretty easy, the only thing you didn't delete in your file is when you were 11, Shigaraki said, showing an image from the file. See, you have 4 freckles on both of your cheeks shaped like a diamond. Also, your hair is green, but it used to be a much more vibrant green. Now your hair has darkened. He smiled under his hand. So what? I asked, and Shigaraki began to laugh. Why am I even here? I shouted at them and they all smirked. I struggled against the chains holding me down. We want you to join us, he said, and I looked at him in disgust. You are so strong and would be great on our team. You really think it's that easy? I asked. Shinso's POV. Dad told me they were going out to save Izuku tonight. I went to my bedroom and laid down in bed. Kirishima told us to meet him in front of the hospital, but my dad is going out. It might be hard. I didn't notice I was scrunching my nose. Shinso, you look scary, Eri said, shaking me. Oh, sorry, I told her, and she smiled. Can I do your hair? Mr. Mike is talking to Aizawa, she asked, and I nodded. She began to tie my hair and put in clips. What is my life? Todoroki's POV. I just finished my training and walked upstairs. I saw my sister looking worried. Oh, hello Shoto. How was training? Fuyumi asked. It was good, I replied, and she smiled. Training? Natsuo asked. Yes, I was training, I responded. Why? He asked. Because, I said. Also, I'm going out now, I added, and both of my siblings looked shocked. It's Shoto. Fuyumi hugged me. You have friends, she exclaimed. Of course I do, I told her, and she started to cry. I'm thankful, she said. I need to go, I said, and she let go. Bye, she waved, and I nodded. I walked over to the hospital and saw Kirishima, Bakugo, and Shinso. Finally, icy hot. Bakugo shouted at me. Hello, sorry if I'm late, I said. Did you just? Calm down, Baku bro. Kirishima interrupted. Hello guys, I heard Momo behind Kirishima. Okay, Kirishima began, but then stopped. We all turned around and saw Ida. Four Eyes, what are you doing here? Bakugo yelled. Stopping you from doing what I think you guys are doing, Ida replied, looking serious. What? Shinso asked. Don't you see? You guys are doing the same thing that I was doing back at Hosa City. Ida exclaimed. The pro heroes are already on the case. There is no need to go. Ida told us, but it seemed like he was holding something back. I agree with you, Ida. But the difference is that you wanted to confront the hero killer, while we just want to save Izuku, Momo said. He is with the League of Villains, and they could be doing anything to him, Shinso added. Teach, Bakugo said. Then let me join, Ida said. Bakugo exclaimed. Really? Kirishima asked. Yes, I want to accompany you guys because I don't think you'll behave yourselves, he replied. I don't think I can join you guys, Momo then said. Why? I asked. Because I'm not fully healed yet and I would slow you down, but I can provide some useful tools, she said, pulling a tracker out of her pocket. Here's a tracker to locate Izuku. I placed something on one of the villains, so press this button to find its location, she explained, then took out a few other items. Here are some binoculars, a miniature aid kit, and other supplies to help you. Momo distributed the items. Thanks, Shinso said. Thank you, Momo. Kirishima exclaimed. Yes, thank you. I'm sure these will come in handy, I said as Bakugo picked them up. Thank you, Ida said, bowing slightly. You're welcome, but I must go back now. I wish you good luck on your mission, Momo said before leaving. We headed to the train station, following the tracker. We sat down on the train, and I recalled telling the rest of our class about our plan to save Izuku. They had made it quite difficult to go. Remember what Uraraka said about this? Kirishima asked, and I nodded. What did she say? Shinso inquired. She said, I really want to go too, but I feel bad if we all get together because it means we are going against what Aizawa said, Kirishima recounted. Just so you know, what we're doing is against Aizawa and Yue. You can still turn back if you want, I said to Kirishima. But I want to do this. Izuku isn't someone who would let villains take over him, he insisted, and I nodded in agreement. What do you think, Shinso? I asked. I agree, Izuku wouldn't let them get to him. Knowing him, he wouldn't, Shinso replied. Bakugo. I turned to him. He's that nerd. I've known him since we were little. He was always shy and a crybaby, Bakugo said. Hey! Shinso shouted. But he's changed over the years, and I know he wants to be a hero, Bakugo concluded, and Shinso calmed down. The train stopped and we all got off. I was holding the tracker and looking at it. Gore, so the villains are hiding here? Where are they? Bakugo shouted. Bakugo! No shouting here. People can't know. Ida admonished. Teeth, Bakugo muttered. We need to charge at, Kirishima started, but I interrupted. Wait, they know our identities. We need disguises that blend in with the crowd, I suggested, and everyone agreed. We walked into a store. This was a good time to utilize Momo's quirk. We all dressed in disguises that helped us blend in. Kirishima and Ida were playfully arguing, but Shinso pointed out, I know you guys are getting into character, but that's really unnecessary, and they quieted down. We overheard something about Yue and looked up to see Nizu, Aizawa, and Vlad King on a screen. They spoke about how they had not protected the students and announced new measures. The crowd seemed unmoved by their statements and viewed Yue negatively. I sighed. Teach, Bakugo looked like he was about to shout again, but Kirishima placed a hand on him. We can't worry about the news, we need to get going, Ida said. Ida's right. Let's go, I said, and we all walked out. Izuku's POV. Well, I do think it is easy, Shigaraki smirked. As if, I retorted with a smile. You know, not letting people know your full last name is a flaw in trust, he said, glancing at my files. I looked at him, confused. Even though your mom died, why don't you use your last name? Just wondering, he asked, and I glared at him. I don't want to carry something that brings me sadness, I replied. He got up and walked around the room. I see, neither would I. We have very similar characteristics, he said, and I hated that. I didn't want to be compared to a villain. Shut up, we don't. I'm different from you, I said, hearing him chuckle. Really? Your mom died, my mom died. Your dad is dead and mine is too. Dead? I looked up, stunned. That can't be true. Mom said he was abroad. Yes, dead. He's been gone for a long time. He worked abroad and was killed in a villain incident, Shigaraki said, moving closer to me with a creepy smile. You've been alone all your life, Midoriya, Todoroki thought as he observed the situation. Bakugo, where's the tracker? I asked. Please don't tell me what to do, I see hot, he shouted back. Don't be disrespectful to your classmates. Ida interjected, performing his usual arm movements. Whoa, chill, dudes, Kirishima tried to calm them down. Shoo, people could hear us, Shinso glared at us, and everyone fell silent. He let out a sigh and pulled the tracker out of his pocket. I have the tracker and we are close to the place. We all started to move as a group until we reached what looked like a bar. Strange, but okay. We decided to hide in the alleyway and make a plan. Shinso had binoculars and was standing on Kirishima's shoulders, peering through the windows. Bakugo was growing impatient, while Ida brainstormed our next steps, and I stayed quiet. Suddenly, we heard Shinso gasp and we all looked up. What happened? Kirishima asked. There are a bunch of those Nomus, Shinso said, continuing. Izuku and the villains are at the bar section. Izuku is strapped down on a chair. He seems sad or frustrated. I saw Shigaraki talking about something, but I have no idea what it was. He got off Kirishima's shoulders. We have no idea what they're telling Izuku. We need to think fast, I said, and Bakugo rolled his eyes. Let's just charge in, Bakugo declared, using his quirk to launch himself up. We tried to stop him, but it was too late. We decided to let Kirishima follow him while Shinso, Ida, and I kept a lookout. Bakugo's frustration boiled over. These villains always get in the way. I'm going to blast him out of here. He flew over to the bar and blew a hole into the building. Smoke and debris filled the air, and when it cleared, Deku was nowhere to be seen, nor was Shigaraki. Only some villains remained. Where is Deku? I shouted, charging at a burnt-looking villain. Who are you? Where is Deku? I demanded, but the villain just laughed. Dabi, I'm Villain Dabi, he said, and I heard footsteps behind me. Bakugo! You can't run off like that. Kirishima shouted, looking around. I see we have more. Well, I've never heard of a Deku, or do you mean Izuku Midoriya? Dabi smirked and my eyes widened. How do you know the nerd's full name? I shouted. Izuku? Midoriya? That's his name? I turned to see Kirishima on the ground, another villain on top of him. Yes it is. But we can't let you have Aizu. She was about to stab him, but he used his quirk to harden. That villain must be Toga. Let the battle begin. I heard Dabi shout as his quirk covered his hand. I charged at him with my explosions, but it was hard to reach him. He simply dodged and kept his distance. Shinso's frustration grew as he sat waiting. I hate just sitting and waiting, he groaned, looking at the wall. Do you see anything, Todoroki? It seems they are fighting, but Shigaraki and Izuku aren't there, he replied simply. What do you mean he's not there? Where is he? I asked, panic rising. I'm not sure. I'm looking through every window, and I don't see anything. Just Nomus and dust from the fights, he explained. I sighed, then heard a car screech nearby. The car looked familiar. Oh my god! I groaned, and Todoroki got off my shoulders. What? He asked, putting the binoculars away. My dad is here, I exclaimed, looking back at the car. Your dad? He questioned. I mean Aizawa is here with the other pro heroes. I shouted, and he looked like he was still processing. Your dad is Aizawa? He asked. Really? That is what you are going to ask? We need to do something. Both pros and the others are going to be too busy fighting. We need to get Izuku out of there. A large explosion erupted from the building, sending a gust of wind through the air. Debris and dust flew everywhere, and Todoroki and I closed our eyes. When we opened them again, we peeked to see what had happened. One for all. Tension filled the air, suffocating us. We could see Best Jeanist on the floor, injured. Then we saw Izuku appear near All for One. That was disgusting. Izuku spat, looking up to see One for All. Shinso and Todoroki were contemplating their next move. They needed to think fast. How could they save him? Peeking again, they noticed Kirishima and Bakugo were beaten but still standing. All Might was too busy fighting All for One to reach Izuku. The league members were trying to capture Izuku again, but some were occupied with Kirishima and Bakugo. Shitty villains. Bakugo grunted, struggling to keep up. I can't escape from this. Izuku whispered to himself, dodging every attack thrown at him. Izuku's mind raced. Think, what can I do? I'm surrounded by villains, and the pro heroes are here, but they can't get to me. Ida, Kirishima, and Bakugo are down. I need to help them. I take out my bow. A Nemo elemental burst. Wind's Grand Ode fires off an arrow made of countless coalesced winds, creating a huge storm eye that SCKS in objects and opponents and deals continuous and Nemo damage. This SCKS some of the surroundings and villains into it, and I was able to run off a good distance until it stopped. I then heard a blast in the air and looked up. I saw an ice glacier coming towards me. I squinted my eyes, seeing Ida and Shinso. They then flew off, with Shinso reaching his hand out to me. Elemental powers depleting due to little usage, I thought. I hoped I had enough. O wind upon which all hymns and songs fly, bear these earthwalkers up into the sky. I shouted, channeling my power. A wind domain opened and I jumped onto it. It launched me up, and I reached for Shinso's hand. Luckily, I grabbed on, but the other villains were on our tail. We escaped and landed, and I felt a wave of relief. Izuku, are you okay? Shinso came up to me, and I nodded. That's good, Ida said, placing a hand on my shoulder. Then a gust of wind swept through, and we looked up at the big screen broadcast to see All Might. It was a somber moment as we saw All Might's frail body, a sight few had witnessed. He pointed to the screen, signaling it was our turn. The next day, I was brought to the police for questioning about what happened. Shinso, Kaken, Ida, Todoroki, and Kirishima were also being talked to by Aizawa. I was informed that they had dropped Eri off at Sue's house. So, Izuku, what exactly happened during the time you were kidnapped? The officer asked. We were sitting in a closed room with just us and some guards. They wanted me to join them, I replied simply, looking at the man. Is that all they did? He inquired, and I hesitated to nod. Actually, they know some of my classified information that only the police and pro heroes know, I added, and their eyes widened. It's nothing major, but I prefer my surname to remain private for personal reasons, I explained, and he nodded. I see, but I doubt it would change anything, right? He asked. Yeah, I just don't want to hear it, I said, and he got up. Okay, you may go now. I followed his instructions and left. Afterward, I walked toward Sue's place to pick up Eri. I knocked on the door, and Sue answered. Oh, Izuku, are you okay? She asked, and I gave a light smile. Yeah, I'm fine. I didn't get hurt at all, I reassured her, and she invited me in. She then called Eri and her sister down. Dad! Eri exclaimed, jumping into my arms. Oh, Eri, how are you? I asked her. She was on my lap, looking up at me. I'm better now that you're back. I was so worried. Eri pouted, her eyes red. But Paimon visited me. She told me what was happening to you. Eri smiled and hugged me again. I patted her head and stood up. Sue, we are going to leave. Sorry for the extent of having Eri over. No, it's fine, Izuku. Eri is a lovely little girl, she replied, and we said our goodbyes. The next day, I woke up to play some games and level up. I was on LVL 63, HP 62. After gaming, I went to the kitchen to make breakfast for Eri and me. I woke her up and we ate. Paimon is up. Paimon exclaimed, appearing beside me. It smells good. Are these pancakes? She shouted, moving closer to the food. Just as I was about to respond, the doorbell rang. I walked to the door and opened it to find All Might and Aizawa. I was shocked and quickly glanced back at my messy apartment. All Might and Aizawa, what are you guys doing here? I stammered, inviting them in. Who is here? Paimon shouted, then turned to see All Might and Aizawa. She disappeared and reappeared next to me. Eri walked over and sat on my lap, while Paimon glared at the two in front of us. So, what are you guys here for? I asked. We are wondering if you would like to move into the dorms, All Might said. It's for your safety, especially since you are a target of villains, Aizawa added. That's strange. Paimon puffed her cheeks. Isn't it always your job to protect your students? She questioned, and both nodded. I would love to move into the dorms, but what about Eri? I asked. We can make certain arrangements for her, Aizawa said. Like what? Paimon glared at them and sat on Izuku's shoulder. Anything that is suggested by Izuku. Here are the papers that are needed to be filled out, along with additional requests on the back. Aizawa handed me the papers, and I took them. I signed the documents and filled out the additional requests. Eri can't live by herself, so I need her with me in my dorm room. After I returned the papers, they left. The next 3 days were spent packing with Eri and Paimon. Izuku, you can't forget your PC. Paimon shouted and I ran over. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? I exclaimed, starting to pack it in its own box. Eri followed behind me and asked, Can I take this? She held out a dress of hers. Of course, take whatever you want and put it in the boxes I gave you, I told her, and she smiled and nodded. All of Class 1A gathered around the front of the dorms. I was holding Eri with one arm while Paimon was sitting on my head. Oh, Izuku! Is this your child? Mina squealed and I nodded. OMG! She's so adorable! Hagakure walked over and I chuckled. Aizawa then came out to explain about the dorms. He mentioned that he would expel everyone except for me, Jiro, and Hagakure if we didn't maintain a symbol of peace. That was a bit intimidating. He explained that the dorms had all our necessities and that today was our only day to unpack and get things ready. Everyone went to their dorms to start unpacking. There were a couple of moving trucks out front as well. I had a lot of boxes, but instead of carrying them all, I put some into my inventory and carried a few. Once I was done, I felt satisfied. I walked out to the common area with Eri on my shoulders. Hey guys! I greeted everyone present, and they all responded. I can't believe you have a daughter, Izuku? It's crazy even though we know you didn't do it. Kirishima shouted and I chuckled a little. The girls then suggested we do a dorm competition, so that's what we did. When it was my turn, I hesitated. No, please. We don't have to see my room. I pleaded, but the girls kept moving forward. Fine, Mina said and I sighed in relief. I'm hungry, Dad, Eri said to me and I smiled. I walked ahead of the girls into my dorm to get a snack for Eri, but as I did, all the girls opened my door. I shouted. Oh. Izuku, your room is just wow, Ochako said, and I managed a slight smile. You have such a sick gaming setup. Kaminari exclaimed with amazement. Thanks, I replied with a smile. I went to the fridge provided in each room and took out a fresh apple, giving it to Eri. The next day, I woke up and realized I wasn't at home. I woke Eri and got her dressed for school. We both walked out to the common area, where Ida and Todoroki were already awake. Oh, good morning, Izuku, Todoroki said. Good morning, Ida added. Morning. I didn't think anyone would be up this early, I said as I headed to the shared kitchen to make waffles for Eri. I try to get up early to exercise and train, Todoroki told me, and I smiled. What are you doing at this time? Ida asked. I need to drop Eri off at school. Since I can't drive, I have to walk her there. Also, I'm making waffles. Want some? I asked and they nodded. Just then, Kaken walked into the common room. We all ate together, and after I dropped Eri off, I returned to find everyone awake. Hello, Izuku, some of them shouted. Where did you go? Kirishima asked. I went to drop Eri off at school, I replied. I heard you made waffles. Why didn't you make some for us? Mina whined. Haha, I can still go make some, I smiled and she nodded. After we all went into UA, we focused on getting our provisional licenses to create ultimate moves. To be continued. We were all brought to Gym Gamma to create our ultimate moves. To be honest, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to create one because my quirk is built from multiple moves that are already made, with no other way of using it. At least I thought so. There are many ways to use moves, but I couldn't think of any new ones. As we walked in, the gym was empty but huge. What? It's huge. Mina shouted, and I smiled at her reaction. Everyone was in their hero costumes except for me because mine was torn. I had asked for new models for a costume. Ida then asked a question, and Aizawa gave a long explanation. The other teachers told us more about the moves we were going to create. After everyone started brainstorming ideas, I felt a bit lost. What can I do? I muttered to myself. What are you doing? Ectoplasm asked me. I'm not sure what to do, I responded. Tell me about your quirk, he said. Well, it's called RPG, which is a type of game. I believe it revolves around the game Genshin Impact, but I remember being told that it could hold more than one game. My quirk is a build-up of preset moves that can only be used one way, I explained. Please continue on, he said. I mean, it can be used multiple ways, but what I am saying is that I can't change or create moves. Also, my quirk is like when you play games, there are stats and other things. I was cut off. Okay, just practice with your own quirk, he told me, and I nodded. Later, All Might came to give us tips and ways to improve. He encouraged me to continue what I do, and I smiled. Afterward, I decided to check the support room to see my new models for a costume. When I got there, Ochako and Ida were behind me. Oh, Izuku! Ochako waved and I smiled back. She blushed, and then suddenly, there was a loud crash, sending dust and debris everywhere. As the dust cleared, I felt a weight on me. I opened my eyes to see Hatsum. Oh, when did you get here? She asked, and I quickly looked away, feeling flustered. I just came here to see my models for my costume, I replied. Oh, Izuku. Yes, your costumes, she shouted, dragging me into the room. Ochako and Ida followed. Here they are, she exclaimed, revealing several costumes in front of me. Oh, what are all of these? Ochako shouted. These are all of Izuku's costume models, Hatsum explained, touching one of them. 3 is a lot though, I said. Well, you need to be stylish. Each of them has the same attributes to help you with your quirk, she exclaimed, handing them to me. Thanks. I guess I'll be going. See you tomorrow, Ida and Ochako, I said as I left, and they waved goodbye. I walked towards the dorms and entered the common area with the costumes in hand. Dad! Eri came running up to me and hugged me tightly. I fell to the ground, costumes and all. Hello, Eri, I said, patting her head. What are those, Izuku? Kirishima asked, offering me a hand to help me up. Thanks, these are my hero costumes, I replied, picking them up from the ground. Costumes? Mineta shouted. Costumes? Mina then came out from the kitchen. Yeah, I have 3 of them even though I only need 1, I smiled sheepishly. Oh, can't wait to see them. Hagakure said and I chuckled. Sure, I'll see you guys tomorrow, I said as I walked to my room with Eri. To be continued.